welcome you all. It's really such a lovely morning, and we are all here to grace the occasion. Allow me to welcome the distinguished guests of this session. It's my honor, more than a pleasure, to welcome you all to this August gathering. And I consider a great honor to welcome Dr. Girish Nadja, the chairman of this session. And as you all know, sir, please occupy your chair on this session. Professor Girish Nadja, a professor of computational linguistics at Jawaharlal Nehru University, is currently the chairman of Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, Ministry of Education, Government of India. He also served as chairperson of the Special Center of Sanskrit Studies and was founding dean of the School of Sanskrit and Indic Studies at Jawaharlal Nehru University. His research interests includes Indian languages, Sanskrit, lexicography, science, technology in Sanskrit, machine translation. His books have been published by leading publishers and has over than 138 papers to his credit. Thank you, sir. Now, I welcome a very warm welcome to Dr. P. Ramanujam onto the dais. Sir, please come and occupy your chair on the dais. Dr. P. Ramanujam Garu is currently engaged in pioneering activities related to Sanskrit and Vedic processing in computers in the country. He has distinction of traditional learning in the Gurukula system, Taittiriya Krishna Yajurveda, Vyakarana, Vishishtadvaita Vedanta, and Nalayira Divya Prabandhams of Alvars in Tamil. He has developed Pandulipi Samshodaka, a palm leaf manuscript editor. He has several awards and honors to his credit, including Veda Varadi, Veda Vijnana Siromani, Vaika Bhushanam, Samskrita Mitra, and many others. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion. A warm and proud welcome to Dr. Professor Ramasubramanian Garu. And I request him to occupy chair on the dais. Professor Ramasubramanian Garu, serving as Institute Chair Professor at CEL for Indian Science and Technology in Sanskrit Departments of Humanities and Social Sciences at IIT Mumbai. He is Indic scholar of great repute, a historian of Indian sciences in mathematics and astronomy, Sanskrit guru, Vedic of great repute, a historian of Indian sciences in mathematics and astronomy, and he has immensely broad erudition. His insights and his popular teachings have been inspiring a new generation of thousands of students. His life mission has been inspire society to undertake research and give India its rightful place in the world of history of science and ignite interest in Sanskrit as a language of science. Thank you, sir, for gracing this occasion. Now, I extend a hearty welcome to Professor P. Venkata Subramanian Garu onto the dais. Sir, I request you to kindly occupy the chair. Dr. P. Venkata Subramanian Garu is co-founder and CEO Vyoma Linguistic Labs Foundation and Sanskrit teacher. He works for the cause of Samskrita Samskriti Samskara and impact as many people as possible. He empowered individuals to access Bharatiya knowledge systems through Sanskrit. He is teaching Sanskrit and Vyakarana Shastras through Gita Govinda Samskrita Sangha since 25 years, and more than 4,000 students have been benefited so far. He is creating skill development and employment opportunities for individuals in the field of Sanskrit, and more than 50 people have been employed. Thank you, sir. Now, it's a great honor to extend welcome to Sri RVSS Savadhanulu Garu onto the dais. Sir, please come and occupy the chair on the dais. Dr. RVSS Savadhanulu Garu holds PhD degree in both Sanskrit and Astroscience and also DLit. Currently serving as Chief Executive of Sri Veda Bharati, he has executed 140 projects. He has 70 books and 80 research papers to his credit, besides 50 titles of Vedic recordings, including Veda Vijnanam, Vishwa Vijnanam, Gita Bhashyam, Brahma Sutra Bhashyam, Rudra Bhashyam, Veda Ganitam, and many more. He is the recipient of several appreciations and awards like Samskrita Mitra Award, Vachaspati Award, Samskrita Seva Vrati Award, Golden Nandi Award, and others. Thank you, sir. And it's really a great opportunity for all of us to listen from the great scholars of Sanskrit and technology. And I really am sure that all of you will be benefited by this. And now, a warm welcome to our beloved Vice Chancellor, Professor G.S.R. Krishnamurthy Garu, and to facilitate the chief guests today. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now, I request Professor Girish Nath Jha, sir, to take over this session and chair this session, for which we shall be thankful to you. Thank you, sir.
Hello. 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 Thank you, organizers. Honorable Vice Chancellor, esteemed officers from the Ministry of Culture, and officers from the university here, and Dr. Hegde. I can see a lot of colleagues, जो मेरे मित्र हैं यहाँ पे कई, and my colleagues and friends on the dais. I'm so honored to be here in this very auspicious city. I've been to the temple earlier, so this time I thought I'll go without the Lord. I'm so honored to be here because it's a very prestigious university, and been here earlier to deliver lecture series long time back. And I think it's a good opportunity for me to talk about what we do with technology and Sanskrit. And we have about 2 hours and 4 presenters, including me, 5 presenters. I'll take the honor of doing the first presentation because I have to catch a flight later on. So I'll request my colleagues to be a little bit more patient with me. I'll just take about 20 minutes or so to complete my presentation. We have been hearing about Panini and computer, and what I'll do today, I'll go through a little deeper into it, because I've done linguistics in UIUC of America and linguistics in JNU, and being a software engineer, so I can perhaps take you deeper into the computational insights in Panini. And then basically tell you why we talk so much about Panini today, right? As you know, the central problem has been in AI right from the 58. We're just talking to someone yesterday that machine translation has been an earlier problem than AI. And we started machine translation in the 50s before actually AI came. And AI was coined in 58, and the person, McCarthy, says it can happen only if natural language texts are understood by machines. And natural language texts have layers of meaning. Right? And layers of meaning can be only understood if we go through linguistics. So linguistics becomes a foundational discipline in AI. And when we talk of linguistics, the core areas, the sounds, change of sounds, phonetics, phonology, words, morphology, syntax, sentence structure, and semantics. Without unraveling these layers of meaning, which are protected by these structures, machines cannot understand natural language sentences. And therefore, we come to Sanskrit because Sanskrit was the tradition where this started for the first time, linguistics. Out of 6 Vedangas, 4 were linguistic sciences, you know very well. And in Sanskrit, we talk of Panini first, the first linguist. First linguist and perhaps still the most prominent linguist in this area. Sanskrit and its linguistic tradition, and the 2 very important papers, I'm sure you would be knowing about it. Sanskrit and AI, the paper by Rick Briggs. You must have heard about it. You can have a quick look at the paper and go through it. Why actually he says that we should have studied Sanskrit's tradition of Shabdabodh first, perhaps, then gone into this. Another one by Nicholas Osler, he talks about Sanskrit studies as foundation for computational linguistics. And no wonder when JNU opened computational linguistics, they got me there. Now, 3 most important people who actually shaped linguistics and then the computational linguistics and AI, Panini first, and then Ferdinand de Saussure, 19th century, and Noam Chomsky, who is still living. So why is Panini so much talked about? Let's have some famous quotes on Panini. Bloomfield, this quote must be familiar to you. The greatest monument, one of the greatest monuments of human intelligence. But the second line is most important, and I've been talking about it to the linguistic departments in India. Indispensable model for a description of languages. Bloomfield, he's also called the father of American structuralism. He was a linguist. In his book Language, 1929, he writes that Panini's grammar is indispensable model for description of languages. Therefore, every linguistic department all over the world should take Panini's model for describing new language data. For example, I am going to do a field work on Kuruk, a language in Jharkhand. So I come back with the data, look at Panini's model, like Akshar Samavnai and the Pada model, etc., and then try to analyze. And that should have been done in India. And unfortunately, most linguistic departments have not done a lot of Panini. They've started doing some Panini now, actually. And also, when he says describing languages, not only natural languages, but also artificial languages, right? So that's very important. Encyclopedia Britannica says that it is compared to Turing machine because it takes any complex input and tries to describe it to its essentials. You know, an ideal mathematical model which tries to analyze any complex input, as human brain does, as any machine does, to its essentials. That's what Panini's grammar does. And Panini's grammar came up with the concept of meta-language and constructed these rules more than 1,000 years ago, and no one has been able to match him to this day. That's what Moni William has to say. Why so? Look at Panini's grammar from top. You find 4 limbs of Panini's grammar, as if a functional natural language system, which starts with the speech, then goes to the rules, does analysis, and then produces output, right? So speech to speech. So interactive human model, speech to speech. That's what Panini's grammar does. And it is functional, it is complete, it works. That's the most important thing. Some examples of programming from Panini's grammar, those of you who have been programmers. So we create lists on the fly. In most programming experiences, you create lists, then assign values. You assign values either dynamically or statically. Panini assigns values dynamically by running a program over a lattice of sounds, right? Adi Rantin Sahita is the sutra which runs on Shiva Sutra and obtains, about 42 pratyaharas, more actually, 42 used by Panini. Adhikara is a code block and calling an API, anuvritti, iteration, recursion, meta rules, and and if there's a conflict resolution. Vipradishade param karyam. Dhatu part is a database. Somehow I think that dhatu part and database are cognate words. They sound similar. Database, dhatu pata. And Panini's dhatu part perhaps the first database, which is external, and he makes a call by calling dhatu and then starts processing. Sangyam sutras and atidesha, extending, and niyaman, restricting, and vidhi, of course. When we have all the samagris done, then we do vidhi. In our pujas, we first have samagri, then we do the vidhi. So first samagri is collected, then vidhi is done. And nishedha, of course, is negation. Saussure was another linguist who popularized, Sanskrit grammar, and he had PhD on the use of Sanskrit genitive, absolute. Vibhakti pe kaam kiya tha inhone. He lectured Sanskrit and Indo-European at the University of Geneva for 3 decades, and he was certainly influenced by Panini and Bhartrihari. His idea of signified and signified, he's considered the father of semiotics, was certainly, resembles the notion of sphoto theory. Noam Chomsky, currently he's shifted to University of Arizona. He was at MIT since '55, and he's credited with these theories, very popular theories, very strong theories, I would say, universal grammar, transformational grammar, and Chomsky hierarchy. I asked him when he gave a lecture in Delhi University, 1995 perhaps, that is Panini also a generative grammarian? He said, yes, Panini is a generative grammarian. And he mentions that in his book, Syntactic Structures. When you compare Panini with Chomsky's model, you find stark similarities, very close similarities. And Panini appears to be a much more mature model. Now, what I'm going to talk about now will be much more deeper into Panini's and Sanskrit grammar, Panini's and Chomsky's grammar. So 2 books came up in 57 and 65 called Syntactic Structures by Chomsky, the first book that he wrote, and Aspects of Theory of Syntax, 65. And from these 2 books, the model that emerges, is the grammar of Chomsky. He says the grammar has 3 components: the base component, the deep structure, and the transformational rules component. His base component has phrase structure rules and lexicon, and that is supposedly going to give you deep structure analysis. In Panini, this is sutra part plus dhatu part, gana part. That is Panini's base component, right? And then deep structure is semantic component, and is karaka in Panini. Right? And transformational rules, basically they apply and give you phonological component. In Panini, it is the derivation process and the akshar sambhavanai. So you see, Panini grammar comes much more closer to Chomsky and much more mature actually. If you look at karaka and any component of Panini, very, very proud and very mature. Now, if you look a little further, the contextual grammar, which is type 2 of Chomsky hierarchy, you find Panini even closer. So grammar G in type 2 is a non-terminal, terminal production and a start symbol. And if you see non-terminal in Chomsky would be noun phrase, verb phrase, etc., etc. In Panini it is aka, savarn, etc., much more abstracted entities in Panini. So grammar which is much more abstract applies more cross-linguistically. A grammar which is less abstract will fail at the instance of a nuanced structure, a nuanced output or something like that. Nuanced input and a grammar will fail miserably. If the grammar is more abstract, it applies more cross-linguistically, and Panini's grammar is much more abstract than Chomsky's grammar. Look at the terminal items. Like the words from any language would be terminal items, but in Panini you have sounds also, dhatu also, besides the syntactic entities. And production is A goes to alpha in CFG, and here A goes to B if C. Akah savarne dirghaha. A goes to B if C. Ikah yanachi, eko yanachi. A goes to B if C. Right? And the start symbol is an utterance in Chomsky, which comes out of your mouth, utterance. But in Panini and Sanskrit tradition, it is vivaksha. It is much before, the desire to make a speech. So if you later on want to add cognitive science to speech production, Panini will be more abstract, more applicable than Chomsky. But Chomsky starts with utterance, which comes out of mouth. And our tradition starts with much before, the vivaksha, desire to speak. So if you, tomorrow, see, cognitive science and artificial intelligence, they will be combined in future. We're talking about deep machine learning. We are trying to mimic human brain, so cog-sci will be part of that. So Panini will be much more applicable even there. Now if you compare Backus-Naur form, BNF notations which are used for CFG, you see here. So the sentence goes to NPVP, this is the BNF notation. So Panini pada goes to supanting, suptingantam padam, pada model. Because an utterance could be a single word used as a full sentence. We do that every day in communication. Single word takes place of an entire sentence, right? So pada is a syntactic entity, even a single word or a full sentence or a full discourse. Now noun phrase is determiner and noun. So in noun phrase, a sanya pada Panini would be sanya flanked by abstract entities to the left. Similarly, kriya pada in Panini would be kriya flanked left and right with abstract entities. More abstraction, more cross-linguistic application. And similarly, the nouns would be any word in a language, but here the inflected words, because one word may have 24 varieties in Sanskrit. And words could be, of course, the inflected output plus the dhatus. All of that could be used in language. And we don't have determiners in Indian languages. Now, so from Panini to Saussure, actually, when the Europeans started translating Sanskrit grammar, the West came to know about it and they started teaching Sanskrit grammar in the West. In fact, I was in Florence University, a visiting professor, and I was talking about Panini, and the lady said that they teach Panini over there in Florence University Linguistics Department. I was surprised that Indian departments of linguistics don't teach Panini a lot, but Europe and America, they do teach that. So Panini to Saussure, to Chomsky, to computational linguistics, and then to, AI, etc., etc. So describing natural language or programming language exactly using rewrite rules. That's what, the ideas that we have derived from Panini. From Panini to Saussure, to Bloomfield, to Harris, Chomsky, John Backus, Backus Normal, Peter Naur, and Backus Naur form. Now, there was some person, Peter Zilahi, Ingerman, in 1967, he wrote a letter to ACM that it is Panini who should get the credit. And he wrote a very strong letter with a lot of research, to support his argument. He says we should actually give Panini the credit, and he says, I suggest Panini Backus form. So it was, Panini Backus form for some time, and then actually reverted back to BNF. So Panini's technique, and simultaneous, developments in linguistics inspired John Backus to actually come up with this first programming language called IAL, which was actually called Algol later on. Now, why all this happened? It was not the case that Panini kind of knew that computer science is going to come up tomorrow, computers will be there, robots will be there, and I should write grammar like that. In fact, there's similarity in methods. The methods used by Sanskrit, linguistics, of course, was the creation of India, and then the computer science, which talks about artificial languages to be used as programming language. There's a connection. In linguistics, we do natural languages. In programming, we do artificial language. So there's a connection, right? We have syntax, morphology, all of that in both the places. So there's a similarity of methods. So in Sanskrit, we talk about a lot of these methods, quantitative methods in these disciplines, maths and natural sciences, linguistics, etc. Experimental methods also used in Sanskrit. And descriptive method is the general paradigm in Sanskrit. We describe rather than prescribe. So we have written descriptive text in every era. And generative method was used in grammar and all allied disciplines predominantly. In linguistics, we use quantitative methods, we use experimental methods, we use observational methods, fieldwork, and corpora-based studies. All of that is used in linguistics too. In NLP AI, all relevant methods from linguistics, CS, stat, probability, plus programming languages and databases, and of course, corpora-based techniques. And then the classical rule-based methods and the current machine learning methods. Both are used. Machine learning methods are used more, but the classical methods may stage a comeback. I have sent some of my students to do deep machine learning courses in Zurich University, and they come back and they tell me that they do a lot of semantics over there, right? And they tell me that mathematical linguistics is perhaps going to come back. When we do mathematical linguistics, Parni will be there, right? And then, of course, machine learning-based methods are used predominantly in computational languages and AI. Today, as you know, the methods have shifted more to machine learning and machine learning-based algorithms. I have a small handout which basically talks about the difference between conventional program and AI program, and difference between a conventional method in AI and machine learning-based methods in AI. So there's no time to go over that in detail. And then there are some integrated platforms. Those of you who want to go into machine learning, if you don't have your machine with GPUs and TPUs, you can perhaps go to Colab and some cloud and run some training programs. These are some of the platforms you can use. If you want to create a lot of corpora for machine learning, you can perhaps look at our platform. It's called Indian Languages Corporate Initiative Platform, done at JNU, which is, you can create a lot of corpora using our platform. I'll not go in there. Now, all of that, considering the importance of Sanskrit and the foundational disciplines in India and the manpower, we consider the complex situation in India and the requirement of technology and what exactly will be needed in Indian languages. We will need the basic resources for Sanskrit and all other Indian languages. And when I'm currently chairing the Commission for Scientific and Technical Terminology, and so our mandate said Hindi and all other Indian languages. And they started building dictionaries for Hindi first and then other Indian languages. Now I have changed it to building dictionaries first in Sanskrit and then other Indian languages, which is very useful. We can reduce the effort. So we're doing now every dictionary in Sanskrit first, and then we go to other dictionaries. So we need to create resources for all Indian languages in a way which minimizes the effort. For example, if I do it in Sanskrit first, then it's basically copying most of the words in other languages. So that reduces the effort. If you create a dictionary in other languages and then start doing it, it basically will, make things a lot of, redundancy over there. So basic input-output tools in all languages, real-time machine translation, there are efforts in this direction. I'll talk about that. Text simplification, dialogue, etc., and multimodal technologies, and then we need indigenous algorithms and indigenous data centers and India's own cost-effective, flexible, multilingual AI. Current developments, we have 3 big efforts by MIT, which is Bhashini, PSA initiative. I'm in the committee for both. In Innovation Challenge for Machine-Aided Translation System, we are basically giving projects to startup companies over there. And Ministry of Education is doing Anuvadini at AICTE, and CSTT is providing vocabulary for retraining the systems to be efficient in scientific and technical domains. Now, this is our commission, and was set up in 1961, and we have a goal to create vocabulary, scientific and technical, in all Indian languages. In all Indian languages, there are many, many Indian languages, and we are currently focusing on 22, and my goal is to also look into more languages than 22. And currently, I'm myself making all the dictionaries searchable, accessible, and usable, and perhaps give you a very short demo. Again, among the Indian academia, we have these institutes actually working in the language-related AI very predominantly in India. And industry, you have these giants, Microsoft, Google, SwiftKey, Amazon, etc., working their bit and investing big way. Google is investing about $10 billion in Indian language technology industry. And in JNU, we have done some quick projects, machine translation projects and parsing projects. Currently, we are doing Vidyapati, which is Hindi Maithili machine translation with IIT Bombay. And consultancies done currently Google. Just to start that bilingual language variations, because I have a deputation from JNU. My consultancies are handled by JNU. And Nuance 2016, SwiftKey. So if you use predictable keyboard for Sanskrit from Google Play Store, you will be using our keyboard. And machine translation, recently Microsoft released Maithili. Earlier we did Urdu and Sanskrit. Hindi is in the advanced stage. That should come up sooner. Multimodal data in 8 languages for University of Pennsylvania. This was a US defense project for identifying terrorists based on their mother tongue. And POS tagging project for Microsoft Research. And these are our tools. We can quickly use these tools to create corpora, a dictionary for those languages which do not have resources. So I use this tool to create corpora for Sanskrit for predictive keyboard. And I realized that an ordinary corpora for any language, Hindi, Telugu, Marathi, etc., if you collect 100,000 words, corpora, you find about 7,000 unique words. But when you collect a corpora 100,000 words in Sanskrit, you find about 21,000 unique words in Sanskrit because of inflections, obviously, and more creativity. So Sanskrit has a higher number of, at least 3 times more higher number of unique words in Sanskrit. Now, work done by students, I'm not going to beam you there. PhD students working in niche areas. So the topics are here. You can go through the topics that are currently being worked at JNU. And currently I'm focusing on text summarization, Sanskrit text summarization, Sanskrit Java natural language interface. ASR is an advanced stage. And of course, machine translation, we are doing Sanskrit Nepali and Hindi Sanskrit currently. And we do these programs every 2 years at the European Fora. Microsoft Research has been funding these seminars. And very quickly, in my current status as the chairman of the commission, I have quickly converted about 170 dictionaries, totaling 14,65,000 words. We have approximately 30 lakh words. So if you search a word, say for example, administration, this will be available on shabda.education.gov.in. All CSTD words will be available there. So if you search a word in English, you will get all the words in Indian languages. And when you convert a non-Devanagari word, I convert non-Devanagari using my converter into Devanagari, I find more Sanskrit words all across Indian languages. For example, administration is Bharanam, Prashashanam, Bharani, Livehanam, Nivahanam, perhaps in Malayalam. There's an error in the transliteration scheme. So when you convert non-Devanagari to Devanagari, you see much more Sanskrit presence in all Indian languages. So now I'm basically speeding up that work, getting Sanskrit more at the core, and to create more words. Now, when this is there, you can get the full context of a word. So Prashashan, you can get full context of the word. So translators can use my URL to translate instead of having books, CSAD books, because our words are the only official vocabulary. So they can use this, and then you can also give feedback. If they don't like a word, you can give feedback, and all of that is built in one place. So, so if I so if I do like administration of any, so the feedback received by, I'm just currently testing it myself. So feedback received will be can then put up to a committee. Committee can decide if the feedback is good or not. Then this is going to go live on shabda.education.gov.in. Another initiative is Shabda Sindhu by Raj Bhasha. I'm not going to talk about that. We have our website where you can look at some of the tools that we have done, dictionaries, etc., databases, Ayurveda, etc. All of that is here. So for example, I'll quickly take you through my Ayurveda glossary. Here we have all the Samhitas, Sushrut, Charak, Nighantu, and all of that. Amar Kosha has, Aushadhi Varga, all of that. So if you look and go to any, you have a database, RDBMS, for searching all these things here. So finally, see, we need AI and AI needs us, both of that. Sanskrit needs AI and AI needs Sanskrit. So what we need to do, I have 3 or 4 main agenda. First, we have to create very quickly the tools for Sanskrit, and then we have to do manuscript digitization, and I'm sure Ramanujam is going to talk about that. And then we have to go text readers and simplifiers, Sandhi Samas have to be handled. text summarizers, and we have just done a abstractive text summary of Sanskrit, and e-learning application, machine trial. All of that has to be done for Sanskrit. Then very quickly create digital resources, including manuscript digital library. And some people are doing it, actually, I know. And then digital library of heritage texts. All of that has to be done. And then create expert systems and education technology, because to promote Sanskrit across, we have to do all of that. Expert system for yoga, Ayurveda, etc., etc. And finally, explore Shastras for AI. If AI can be helped, by studying Sanskrit Shastra, by bootstrapping Sanskrit Shastras, that will be great. And because McCarthy believes that knowledge needed for people to speak actually is not encoded in natural language. So what is that mathematical language where knowledge is encoded? And there, that mathematical language can be pointed out by our experts, the Navanyaya and Mimamsa people. And then we need perhaps a combination of the Shastra, I call it a Shastra panel with AI panel combined, put them together. So there are about 19 or 20 Sanskrit universities. They should have strongly built this program. And there are communities actually in India. India is a tech giant in IT, and of course becoming a giant in artificial intelligence. India is a giant in Sanskrit and other languages. So there's a good opportunity for building up this collaboration in India. And I'm sure there'll be no dearth of funding in today's India. So finally, there'll be challenges, and challenges will be from AI too, because AI has been constantly evolving. And I remember doing a course in Introduction to Artificial Intelligence at University of Illinois. In 1997, I did a course there. And that was called Introduction to Artificial Intelligence. And that course was actually programming in Lisp and programming in Prolog. If you did a course today in AI, it would be programming in Python perhaps, and doing machine learning and doing machine learning. So there has been phenomenal improvement in technology and constant changes in the methods. So with that, keeping in mind, we have to build an AI which is going to stay longer, which is going to also handle nuance the situation in India, because we are a very complex country with a lot of multilinguality. So our AI should stand, even if it comes some new language like Kuruk or Kokborok or some Nagamese, which throws a unique challenge to AI systems, and our AI cracks. So we should have something more flexible. And therefore, you have to use a much more abstract system like Panini's system, which withstands any nuanced situation that may come up tomorrow. So thank you very much for giving me space, and I hope I haven't taken much time. I'll now invite Professor Ramanujam to make his presentation, or we can take questions later on, whatever. Ramanujam, please. Want to come? Thank you. The guests can come, you can sit there.
नमो वाचे याचोदितायाचानुदिता तस्यै वाचे नमो नमो वाचे नमो वाचस्पतये नमो विष्णवे बृहते करोमि। अद्य अहं संस्कृतभाषायां वाग्विषये वाक् संश्लेषणं वा वाक् प्रत्यभिज्ञानं वा यदि यन्त्रद्वारा करणीयं तर्हि तदर्थं काः अपेक्षाः सन्ति, किं करणीयम् इति विषये विशिष्य वेदाङ्गानाम् अध्ययनार्थं यावदपेक्षितं तद्विषये एव प्रस्तोष्यामि। वैदिकविनियोगार्थप्रक्रमाणां विकासस्य आवश्यकता एतत् मम व्याख्यानस्य विषयं भवति। अत्र उपोद्घातः किञ्चित् उच्यते किमर्थमेतदपेक्षितम् इति। अद्यत्वे बहवः वेदाध्ययनं कुर्वन्ति, अपि तु केवलं मन्त्रपाठिनः दृश्यन्ते, अपि तु अर्थज्ञानिनः बहु अल्पीयांशः दृश्यन्ते। तेन किं भवति, प्रायः तेषां भावः सम्यक् न आविष्कृतो भवति जनानां मध्ये, तेन तत्र श्रद्धाहानिः दृश्यते। तस्य समीकरणार्थं यदि कश्चित् किञ्चित् ज्ञात्वा वदति तर्हि तत्र प्रभावः अधिकतया भवति जनानां मध्ये, प्रयोजनं च अधिकं भवति। श्रुतिरेव वक्ति यैतद्विदुस्त इमे समासते इति। कश्चित् जानाति, ज्ञात्वा प्रयुङ्क्ते तर्हि शब्दस्य प्रयोजनं सम्पूर्णं भवति। तदर्थं तत्क्षेत्रे इदानीं किं करणीयं भवेदस्माभिः इत्यत्र वैदिकक्षेत्रस्य अपेक्षाः यन्त्रद्वारा यन्त्रसम्बन्धे मया उच्यते। वैदिकक्षेत्रे अन्यानि बहूनि अपेक्षितानि सन्ति, तदन्यत्। अपि तु वैदिकक्षेत्रस्य तान्त्रिकक्षेत्रस्य च सम्बन्धे किमपेक्षितम् इत्येव अद्य प्रस्तोष्यते। विशिष्य पाण्डुलिपीनां विषये बहवः ग्रन्थाः इतोपि अमुद्रिताः सन्ति, न लभ्यन्ते। ते तावत् मातृकारूपेण तत्र विषकलिताः सन्ति। तेषां सङ्ग्रहः, पठनं, मुद्रणादिकं करणीयं भवेत् उपयोगाय। तदनन्तरं तत्र च शिक्षाशास्त्रीय अंशाः यन्त्रज्ञैः सम्यक् ज्ञातव्याः। भाषायाः अवगतेः कृते विशिष्य वाचाप्रयोगस्य यदि विश्लेषणं कर्तुम् इष्यते, कश्चित् टङ्कयति तत्तु ज्ञातमस्ति, अपि तु कश्चित् वदति, तत्र किं भविष्यति, प्रादेशिकभाषाणां प्रभावोऽपि भवति। संस्कृत उच्चारणे एव यदि आसेतु हिमाचलं वयं पश्यामः, विभिन्नजनैः एकमेव वाक्यं विभिन्नरूपेण श्रूयते। यदा ते वदन्ति तर्हि यन्त्रं किं स्वीकुर्यात्, किं त्यजेत्, कथं सः जानीयात् एषा स एव इति। मन्त्रेष्वपि एषः भेदः दृश्यते। यदि कश्चन मन्त्रः विभिन्नप्रान्ते प्रयुज्यते, यद्यपि स्वराः सन्ति, तथापि किं भवति, केरळे कश्चन ऋग्वेदम् अग्निमीढपुरोहितं केनचित् प्रकारेण वदति, स एव मन्त्रः प्रायः उत्तरभारते अन्यरूपेण श्रूयेत। यद्यपि मन्त्रः अक्षरेषु वा स्वरेषु वा भेदो नास्ति, तर्हि वर्णोत्पत्तिविषये शिक्षाशास्त्रे यदुक्तं तद्विषयकज्ञानम् अपेक्षितं भविष्यति। अनन्तरं वैदिकप्रयोगाणां विषयेपि ज्ञानम् अपेक्षितं। बहुत्र पाणिनिना अनुशासनेपि छन्दसि बहुलम् इति बहुत्र प्रयुक्तमस्ति, अपि तु एकवारं तेन न प्रयुक्तं, विभिन्नप्रकरणेषु तत्र 14वारं प्रयुक्तमस्ति बहुलं छन्दसि इति पाणिनिसूत्रे। अतः विभिन्नप्रकरणेषु लोके एवं भवति, वेदे एवमपि भवति इति तेन अनुशिष्टमस्ति। ते अंशाः वैदिकव्याकरणांशाः। अनन्तरं प्रातिशाख्यं तत्तच्छाखानियतं किञ्चित् भाषां नियमयति, तदपि ज्ञातव्यं भवति। अनन्तरं शिक्षाप्रणाल्यां कश्चन नूतन आविष्कारः अपेक्षितः। प्राचीनशैल्या केवलं रटनेन ज्ञानं न सम्पादयितुं शक्यते, तदतिरिच्यापि किञ्चित् करणीयमस्ति। अस्मिन् विषये किञ्चित् अस्माभिः कृतं तदत्र निवेद्यते। तत्र एवमस्ति, प्रायेण वेदे मन्त्रस्य रटनमेव दृश्यते, अपि तु तद्विषये किं रट्यते इति न ज्ञायते, तत्र क्लेशः। अतः इदानीम् इम्बालन्स् दृश्यते। प्राक्टीस् अस्ति, कश्चित् इदानीं वर्णक्रमार्थमपि बहुकालं यापयति, कण्ठस्थीकरोति। किमर्थं किमुच्यते, तत्तु सुलभेन मार्गेण लाघवेन साधयितुं शक्यते वा इत्यादि न चिन्त्यते। घनान्त अध्ययनं यदि क्रियते मया तु चिन्त्यते समयस्य अपव्ययः सः केवलं पदपाठेन क्रमपालनेन यावत् शक्यं तस्यैव यदि नियमावलीम् अनुसृत्य वयं जानीमः घनरूपं कथं भवति सन्धिज्ञानार्थं वा भवतु विशिष्य कम्पादीनां ज्ञानार्थं वा भवतु तदर्थं वर्षाणि यावत् अध्ययनं वा कण्ठस्थीकरणं वा प्रायः तत् सः समयः अर्थज्ञाने यदि व्ययीक्रियेत प्रायः उपयोगः अधिकं भवेत् अन्येषां यद्यपि कश्चित् वदति वर्णक्रमं वदति बहु स्मृत्या मेधया साधयेत् किमुच्यते अत्र भोः इति पृष्टे उत्तरं न भविष्यति तादृशविषयेषु अस्माकं किञ्चित् समीकरणम् अपेक्षितम् अतः अत्र यन्त्रादीनामपि उपयोगः कर्तुं शक्यते कालस्य ह्रासाय अतः वेदः नाम किम् इति पृष्टे शब्दमयः अस्ति अस्माकं भारते कुत्रापि लैंग्वेज इज नॉट इक्वल टू टेक्स्ट इन इंडिया लैंग्वेज इज इक्वल टू स्पीच इन इंडिया बोली भाषा मोळि इत्यादि भाषायाः कृते यः शब्दः प्रयुज्यते वाचैव प्रयुज्यते न तु लेखनेन एतत् पाश्चात्यैः अस्मान् मूढान् कर्तुं कृतं यः कश्चित् लिखितुं वा पठितुं वा प्रभवति स एव अक्षरज्ञः स एव एवं कृतं तैः literate is one who can read or write and in fine print English those who can read or write English only are literates all others are illiterates this is their definition भारतीय भाषायाम् एवम् आसीत् यः कश्चित् वक्तुं प्रभवति सः अक्षरज्ञः सः किञ्चित् जानाति व्यवहारं जानाति प्राणिष्वपि दृश्यते शब्द प्रयोगः अतः अस्माकं संस्कृतं नाम दैवी वाक् अन्वाख्याता महर्षिभिः इत्युक्तमस्ति वाच एव भाषात्वम् अस्माकम् अमरकोशेपि दृश्यते गीर्वाग्वाणी सरस्वती तत्र ब्राह्मी तु भारती भाषा गीर्वाग्वाणी सरस्वती इत्यादि उच्यते भाषा नाम यदुच्यते तत्रैव भावनाः आविर्भवन्ति लेखने तन्न भवति लेखने कश्चित् प्रश्नार्थकचिह्नम् अन्ते लिखति वाट् इस् युवर् नेम् इति लिखित्वा प्रश्नार्थकचिह्नं लिखति यदि तच्चिह्नम् अपगतं तर्हि वाट् इस् युवर् नेम् इत्यपि वक्तुं शक्यते तर्हि तेन किं ज्ञायते अपि तु अस्माकं भाषासु विशिष्य वैदिकभाषायां प्रत्यक्षरं प्रतिवर्णं स्वरः निहितोऽस्ति भावः तस्मिन्नेव अन्तर्गतो विद्यते यद्यपि वयं न जानीमः तथापि तत् फलप्रदम् अपि तु तेनैव न सन्तोष्टव्यं यद्यपि सहस्रनामाध्याये उक्तमस्ति संकीर्त्य नारायण शब्दमात्रं विमुक्तदुःखा सुखिनो भवन्ति तर्हि शब्दमात्रम् इत्यस्य एषः अर्थो नास्ति अर्थज्ञानं न स्यात् केवलं शब्दज्ञानं स्यात् इति अर्थः न उच्यते यद्यपि शब्दमात्रमपि फलप्रदं भवति इत्युच्यते कैमुतिकन्यायेन ग्राह्यं भवति शब्दमात्रस्यैव इयान् प्रभावः अस्ति चेत् किमुत कश्चित् सम्यक् ज्ञात्वा प्रयुङ्क्ते अतः वाक्सन्धिः इति श्रुतिर्वदति अध्यात्मप्रकरणे अथाध्यात्मम् अधराहनुः पूर्वरूपम् उत्तराहनुरुत्तररूपं वाक्सन्धिः जिह्वासन्धानम् इति अध्यात्मम् इति श्रुतिर्वदति अतः वाच यदपेक्षितं तत्र मया द्वित्राः अंशाः तत्र प्रधानेन उच्यन्ते टीचिङ्ग् दि टीचर्स् एतद् अपेक्षितं प्रथमतया अद्यत्वे यदि वयं पृच्छामः कञ्चित् वेदगुरुकुले वा पाठशालायां वा कश्चन अधीयानः अस्ति भवान् अर्थं जानाति वा ज्ञातुं प्रयतितवान् वा कथं शक्यते भोः न कोऽपि पाठयिता अस्ति इति बहुत्र उच्यते तर्हि पाठयितॄणां प्रशिक्षणम् अपेक्षितं प्रथमं ट्रैनिङ्ग् दि टीचर्स् किमर्थम् एतदुच्यते इत्युक्ते साङ्गवेदाध्यायिनः अद्यत्वे बहु विरलाः तत्र च भाष्याधिकारिणः अति विरलाः सन्ति कस्यचित् मन्त्रस्य अर्थं विवरीतुं शक्यते चेदेव तेन अध्यापनसमये उदात्तस्य स्थाने अनुदात्तः उक्तश्चेत् को भेदः का हानिः इति यदि विवरितुं शक्नोति तर्हि तस्य मनसि सम्यक् निहितं भवति तादृशानाम् अपेक्षा प्रथममस्ति तत्र यदि यान्त्रिकप्रणाली प्रयुज्येत भवतु नाम उपयोगाय येन केनापि प्रयोजनं शक्यते भवतु इति तत् स्वीकर्तुं शक्यं द्वितीयं मया पूर्वमुक्तं ग्रन्थानां परिष्करणम् अमुद्रितानां ग्रन्थानां परिष्करणं तत्र च बह्व्यः लिपयः यस्मिन् संस्कृतग्रन्थाः लिखिताः। मया प्रायः 35 लिपिषु संस्कृतग्रन्थाः दृष्टाः सन्ति। विभिन्नप्रान्तेषु विभिन्नलिपिषु संस्कृतग्रन्थाः एव। भगवद्गीता प्रायः रामायणम् इत्यादिकं बह्वीषु लिपिषु लभ्यन्ते अस्माकं। प्रायः कुत्रचित् कश्चन विशिष्टः पाठोपि स्यात्, कश्चित् सर्वं पठित्वा यदि एकत्रीकरोति उपकाराय भविष्यति। प्राचीनकाले अशक्यम् आसीत् प्रायः। इदानीं यान्त्रिकजगति यदि ईदृशविषयेषु श्रद्धा भवति उपकाराय भविष्यति। अध्येतॄणां कृतेपि एतत् एकं प्राक्टिकल् ट्रैनिङ्ग् रूपेण भवितुमर्हति। यः कश्चित् अध्ययनं करोति, एकं प्रश्नं वा न्यूनातिन्यूनं सः पाण्डुलिपितः एव दृष्ट्वा लिखेत्, यद्वा पुनः तत् उच्चरेत् इत्यादि। अनन्तरं रेर् एण्ड् डैवर्स् स्क्रिप्ट्स् आर् देर् इन् द मानस्क्रिप्ट् रिसोर्सस् एतदेकम्। अप्राप्रियेट् स्पीच् टेक्नालजि अन्यदर्थमपि अपेक्षितं। बहवः तत्र उपाख्यानविशेषाः वेदेषु दृश्यन्ते। कमपि विषयं वक्तुं तत्र उपाख्यानादिरूपेण, संवादादिरूपेण, प्रश्नोत्तरादिरूपेण वेदेषु विषयाः निहिताः सन्ति। तेषां विषये यदि कश्चन सायणभाष्यं चतुर्णामपि वेदानां पठितुम् इच्छति तर्हि तादृशसन्दर्भे यदि तेषां यन्त्रद्वारा श्रवणमाध्यमरूपेण यदि श्रोतुं शक्यते तर्हि बहुषु लिपिषु लिखितं प्रायः एकत्रीकर्तुं शक्यते। सायणभाष्यस्यैव कन्नडभाषायां लभ्यते, तमिळ्भाषायाम् अस्ति। तत्र भाषान्तरणमपि कृतं, मुद्रणमपि विभिन्नलिपिषु कृतमस्ति। किन्तु यदि स्पीच् रूपेण येषां सङ्ग्रहः भवति, श्रवणे कश्चन अधिकः संस्कारः अवश्यं जायते, तर्हि तदर्थमपि एतत् टेक्नालजि उपयोक्तुं शक्यम्। अतः ईदृशसन्दर्भेषु टेक्स्ट् टु स्पीच् वा भवतु, आटोमेटिक् स्पीच् रेकग्निशन् वा भवतु, एतद्वयम् ईदृश अत्यवश्यापेक्षितविषये यदि प्रयुज्येरन्, यु नीड् ए टीम् देर्, बट् we can have a team like Professor Jha mentioned. It is required from the two disciplines which are different today, which are diverse today. If they can merge together, the problems can be addressed. So we have just said Lakshananta Adhyayanam iti purvam asit, anantaram Sangadhyayanam, anantaram Bhashyadhyayanam iti. Mama Adhyayanakale buddhijanaah evam adhyapitavantah. Purvam Purusuktasyapi रक्षणाध्ययनं साङ्गाध्ययनं षडङ्गैः साकम् अनन्तरं भाष्यमपि पाठितवन्तः। यदि अत्रैव कश्चित् स्थापयति वेदाध्ययनं तथापि तस्य तद्विषयकं सम्पूर्णं ज्ञानं भविष्यति इति। तत्र अस्माभिः पूर्वं तार्क्ष्य इति एकः प्रकल्पः कृतः सर्वकारद्वारा। तत्समये MHRD इत्यासीत्, मानवविकाससंशोधनमन्त्रालयम् इति। तेषां प्रति मया तत्समये अहं सीडाक् मध्ये डैरेक्टर् आसम्। अतः तैः आह्वानं देयमासीत्, कदाचित् दत्तं, मया किञ्चित् प्रपोसल् दत्तमासीत्। अपि तु अहृदयेनैव तत् स्वीकृतं, सम्पूर्णतया न केनापि दृष्टं। तत्र एकः क्लेशः अस्ति, कश्चित् संस्कृतज्ञः एकं प्रपोसल् ददाति, कः तं परामर्शयिष्यति, कश्चन IIT प्रोफेसर् करिष्यति। तेन किं भविष्यति, तस्य अस्मिन् विषये ज्ञानं नास्ति, तिरस्कारभावोऽप्यस्ति। ओ एते वैदिकाः, विशिष्य यदि अहं गच्छामि वैदिकवेषेणैव गच्छामि तर्हि ते चिन्तयन्ति प्रायः कञ्चित् तोषयितुम् एषः आहूतो स्यात्, प्रायः किञ्चित् दद्मः, अपि तु तत्र विषये श्रद्धा न भविष्यति। तेन किं सञ्जातं, मया एतत् सम्पूर्णतया करणीयमिति विशिष्टरूपेण प्रपोसल् दत्तमासीत्। अपि तु केवलम् एकं प्रूफ् आफ् कान्सेप्ट् करोतु भवान् इति तैरुक्तं। तदस्ति इदानीम्, अपि तु तद् इदानीं सीडाक् मध्ये नास्ति, न कस्यापि रुचिरस्ति। अपि तु मया इदानीं तत्तु यूट्यूब् मध्ये निक्षिप्तमस्ति। तार्क्ष्य इति किमासीत् इत्युक्ते 14 विद्यास्थानानामपि, चतुर्णां वेदानां, षण्णां वेदाङ्गानां, चतुर्णां वेद उपाङ्गानां च आहत्य विशिष्ट अधिकारिभिः अस्माभिः राष्ट्रपतिसम्मानिताः विद्वांसः पूर्वं प्रारब्धः। तैरारभ्य तत्र च 90-वर्षीयाः पूर्वं स्वीकृताः, अनन्तरम् 80तः 90-वर्षीयाः, एवं रूपेण वृद्धानां यावज्जीवं यैः अस्मिन् विषये एव परिश्रान्तमस्ति तादृशैः उपन्यासाः कारिताः। तत्समये संस्कृतभाषायां प्रश्नोत्तररूपेण एतत् इदानीं लभ्यते। प्रायः 100 घण्टाः तत्र उपन्यासाः लभ्यन्ते 14 विद्यास्थानेषु। ते तान् उपयुज्य यदि किञ्चित् टेक्नालजि भवति तत् शृणुयात् पूर्वं तत्र किमस्ति इदानीं पुष्पादीक्षित् तत्र व्याकरणविषये किञ्चित् उक्तवती अस्ति, वाराणस्यां कैश्चित् किञ्चित् उक्तमस्ति, काञ्चीपुरे कैश्चित् उक्तमस्ति, केरळे कैश्चित् उक्तमस्ति। विभिन्नदेशे विभिन्नप्रदेशेषु संस्कृतस्यैव उच्चारणं विभिन्नविद्वद्भिः कृतमस्ति। तत्र यन्त्रस्य कृते डैवर्सिटि विल् बि नोन्। तर्हि किं कुर्यात् कश्चित् इत्युक्ते माडलिङ्ग् करणसमये रेप्रेसेण्टेटिव् माडल् इति अपेक्षितं। तत् कर्तुं सौकर्यं तत्र कल्पितमस्ति, इदानीं लभ्यते। अस्माकं PIVS-तः अपि वेब्सैट् मध्ये एतद् लभ्यमस्ति, टेक्स्ट् अपि लभ्यते, तस्य ट्रान्स्क्रिप्शन् कृतम्, अपि तु यूट्यूब् मध्ये इदानीं श्रोतुं शक्यं। तादृशः द्वितीयं पाण्डुलिपीनां विषये पाण्डुलिपिसंशोधकः इति मया किञ्चित् कृतम्। अद्य बहु खेदास्पदमस्ति, मया प्रायः 20,000 पाण्डुलिपिपत्राणाम् ऐडेण्टिफिकेशन् कृत्वा एतत् स्थापितमस्ति। कुत्रचित् सर्चिङ्ग् शक्यते कर्तुं। सस्वराः बहवः सन्ति ग्रन्थाः। इदानीं मया श्रुतं सीडाक्तः कश्चन जर्मन् कम्पनी आगत्य वयं GPT आड् कुर्मः, अपि तु वयं तत्र पेटेण्ट् कुर्मः इति उक्तवन्तः। सीडाक् अभिमुखतमस्ति इति मया श्रुतम्। एवं भवति अद्यत्वे। यदि कश्चन किञ्चित् बहोः कालं यावत् 20 वर्षाणि यावत् कश्चित् परिश्रमं करोति, तत्सर्वं लभ्यते कुत्रचित्। अन्यः आगत्य तस्य नाम केवलं तदुपरि यदि निदधाति, एते न जानन्ति अत्र किमस्ति, केन कृतम्, एवमपि शक्यते। तादृशविषयेष्वपि यदि छात्राणाम् अध्ययनसमये एव यदि ज्ञानम् उत्पाद्यते, ते जानन्ति अत्र एवं लभ्यते, ईदृशाः विशेषज्ञाः सन्ति, तर्हि प्रायः ते आगामिनि काले अपि विशिष्टक्रमेण उपयोगं कर्तुं शक्नुयुः। यथा ग्रन्थलिप्यां भवतु, नन्दनागरीलिप्यां भवतु। अत्र पश्यन्तु, येषां पितृचरणानामपि अस्ति, कृष्णमूर्तिशास्त्रिणामपि तत्र वेदभाष्यविषये लेक्चर् दत्तमस्ति। बहूनां बहवः इदानीं न जीवन्ति। कुतः? प्रायः ते अद्य जीवन्ति चेत् परशतम् आयुः भवेत् तेषां। ईदृशानां बहूनां तत्समये अस्माभिः एवं कारितं। तत्र मया प्रदर्श्यते। सस्वरस्यैव पाण्डुलिप्याः मम पूर्वम् इच्छा विद्यते, मया सङ्गृहीतमस्ति। स्वरेण साकं यत्र लभ्यते पाण्डुलिपिः, तत्र विभिन्नलिपिषु शक्यते। किञ्चित् एतत् सर्वम् अस्माभिः तत्समये एव टेक्स्ट् रूपेण ट्रान्स्क्रैब् कृतमस्ति, एतत् सर्च् कृते उपयुक्तमस्ति। अतः विभिन्नग्रन्थेषु अत एव मया उच्यते, यदि स्पीच् प्रोसेसिङ्ग् कश्चित् कर्तुम् इच्छति, अवश्यं संस्कृतज्ञेन साकं मिलित्वा एतत् कुर्यात्। उभयोरपि समानस्तरे एव विचारः प्रवर्तेत। एषः पाश्चात्य कश्चित् चिन्तयति एते पारम्परिकाः सन्ति, ते किमपि न जानन्ति इति। तथा अस्ति चेत् तत्र कार्यम् अग्रे न प्रचलति। समानधर्मत्वम् उभयोरपि अपेक्षितं। कथं शब्दस्य उत्पत्तिः इत्यादि पाणिनिः वक्ति, तस्य वैज्ञानिकता द्रष्टुं शक्यते। कथं शब्दस्य उत्पत्तिः परा पश्यन्ति, मध्यमा, वैखरी इत्यादि दशासु कथं भवति इति तेन सम्यक् विवृतमस्ति। तत्सर्वम् अस्माभिः वक्तव्यं भवति। पाठनसमये एव भवान् इदानीं संवृतत्वेन उक्तवान्, विवृतत्वेन वक्तव्यमासीत् इत्युक्ते को नाम संवृतं विवृतम् इति तदपि प्रदर्शनीयम्। अग्रे मया किञ्चित् कृतं, तदपि प्रदर्शयामि। वेव् फार्म् रूपेण प्रदर्शयितुं शक्यते अद्यत्वे। त्वया उक्तम् एवमस्ति, एवं वक्तव्यमस्ति, अनयोः भेदः एवम् इत्यादि। यद्यपि अस्माभिः केवलं पठ्यते तन्न पर्याप्तं, प्रायोगिकरूपेण तस्य प्रदर्शनम् अपेक्षितं। तदर्थं तत्र यन्त्राणाम् उपयोगः कर्तुं शक्यते। अन्यः अंशः पाणिनिः वदति, हस्ते विभिन्न अङ्गुलिषु रेखासु स्वराः प्रदर्शनीयः। उदात्तमाख्याति वृषोऽङ्गुलीनां प्रदेशिनी मूलनिविष्टमूर्धा। पाणिनिः शिक्षायां वदति उदात्तं प्रदेशिनीं विद्यात् इति। प्रजापतिः इति एकः शब्दः स्वीक्रियते चेत् प्र इत्यत्र अनुदात्तमस्ति, जा इत्यत्र उदात्तमस्ति, प इत्यत्र स्वरितः, ति इत्यत्र प्रत्ययः, चतुर्णामपि स्वराणाम् एकस्मिन्नेव पदे लाभः अस्ति। तत् प्रदर्शयितुं शक्यते। तर्हि कति विधाः शब्दाः सन्ति इत्यत्रापि नवधा एव शब्दाः सन्ति। नवैव शब्दाः सस्वराः। अन्तोदात्तम्, आद्युदात्तम्, उदात्तम्, अनुदात्तं, नीचस्वरितं, मध्योदात्तं, स्वरितं, द्युदात्तं, त्रिदात्तम् इति नवपदशय्या। पाणिनेः शिक्षायां श्लोकः एषः। तर्हि तस्य कृते एकत्रैव पाणिनिः दृष्टान्तं प्रदर्शितवान्। कुत्रापि अष्टाध्याय्यां तेन दृष्टान्तः न प्रदर्शितः। केवलम् अत्र सः वदति अग्निः सोमः प्र वः वीर्यं हविषां स्वः बृहस्पतिः इन्द्रा बृहस्पति एते नव दृष्टान्ताः भवन्ति नव अनन्तरं विवरणमपि तेनैव चित्तम् अग्निरितन्तोदात्तम् इत्यादि स एव वदति अतः ईदृशानां कृते अत्र पश्यन्तु प्रजापतिः इत्युक्ते कुत्र कथं प्रदर्शनीयम् अनुदात्तः कनिष्ठिकायां प्रदर्शनीयः इति उदात्तः प्रदेशिन्यां प्रदर्शनीयः स्वरितस्य उपकनिष्ठिकां स्वरितोपकनिष्ठिकां प्रत्ययस्य मध्यमाङ्गुलिः इत्यादिरूपेण एतत् अद्यत्वे न दृश्यते एव अध्ययनपरम्परायां हस्तचालनं न दृश्यते कुत्र एतत् सर्वं पुनः एवं रूपेण मया तत्र प्रयुज्यते इण्डियन् इन्स्टिट्यूट् आफ् सैन्स् मध्ये किञ्चित् अस्माभिः कृतं कञ्चित् आहूय पश्यतु एवं तत्र द्रष्टुं शक्यम् अद्य मम सविधे द्वौ छात्रौ अध्ययनं कुरुतः तत्र 12वर्षीयः 15वर्षीयः द्वावपि उभावपि व्याकरणं पूर्णतया जानीतः इदानीं साङ्गं तैः इदानीम् अध्ययनं क्रियते ते इदानीं वाक्यार्थं कर्तुं प्रभवन्ति तावत् शक्यते यदि कस्यचित् रुचिरस्ति एवं रूपेण यदि अग्रे गत उदात्तस्य अनुदात्तस्य स्वरितस्य भेदः कथं ज्ञातुं शक्यम् इत्यादि प्रदर्शनीयं अतः एवं विभिन्नक्रमेण अस्माभिः प्रयोगाः कृताः सन्ति तेषाम् उपयोगः कर्तुं शक्यते अन्ते एकं चतुर्निमेषात्मकम् एकं वीडियो अहम् उपयोक्तुम् इच्छामि पश्यामः अन्ते एवमेव वक्तव्यं मया इदानीं मम पितृचरणानां स्मृतौ पराङ्कुशाचार्य इन्स्टिट्यूट् आफ् वेदिक् स्टडीस् इति प्रारब्धमस्ति तत्र एतत् कार्यं प्रचलति अत्र वयं तत् अस्माकं वेब्सैट् अस्ति एवं यूट्यूब् चानल् विद्यते एवं रूपेण तत्र यदि कश्चित् कार्यं कर्तुम् इच्छति तर्हि मिलित्वा वयं कर्तुं शक्नुमः पश्यामः एकं यदि वैदिकः कश्चन कथाविशेषः कस्यचित् वक्तव्यमस्ति तत्समये एतद् उपयोक्तुं शक्यते एकनिमेषम् इदानीं मया इण्डियन् नालेड्ज् सिस्टम्स् इति आसीत् मया तु वेदिक् नालेड्ज् सिस्टम् इति किञ्चित् भवतु केवलं वेदानां विषये एवमेव विशुद्धाद्वैत नालेड्ज् सिस्टम् अपेक्षितम् एवं यस्य कस्यापि शास्त्रस्य कृते अतः अत्र पश्यन्तु एकां कथां किमपि चित्रणरूपेण कर्तुम् अस्माकम् इच्छा आसीत् सौण्ड् श्रूयते वा
Is it a YouTube video? YouTube wala video hai kya?
Is it working?
You have internet connection on your computer?
I am seeing it, but I am not able to see whether the sound is heard. And this may be interesting to just see, okay, how somebody can use technology. Just see why the sound is not coming.
So sound we need to add it, sir, because we need to clear it.
That will make a lot of things clear. Instead of speaking, seeing or hearing will be better.
Ramanujam ji, can we move to the next speaker? Maybe you can demo it later.
Because sound we need to tell this.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Ramanujam ji, for discussing the requirements of the Vediki on speech technology front, because a lot of nuanced usage in Vediki, so it's not easy to develop speech technology. So he's an expert in that. He discussed those things. We can discuss the questions later on. I now invite Professor Ram Subramaniam ji to make his presentation. 25 minutes, sir.
Namaste to one and all present here. So we had a brilliant introduction to the importance of studying Sanskrit grammar by Professor Jha. Then Dr. Ramanujam took us through some interesting aspects of what we call as TTS and ASR. TTS is text-to-speech recognition and ASR is automatic speech recognition. Now, here I am going to talk to you on the title which was given in the brochure. So it was just mentioned artificial cognition. This is what was stated there. I was wondering what this artificial cognition is. Of course, we have a certain project which has to do with TTS as well as ASR at IIT. And I am also deeply involved in that. But this artificial cognition, this term has to be clearly understood by us. We have something called artificial intelligence and machine learning. We also have the word artificial cognition. So what is cognition? What is intelligence? What is knowledge? What is artificial? What is natural? These things have to be very clear to us. And today there is a big danger of people resorting to what we call as open GPT, and then which is essentially making use of artificial intelligence. And I wanted to caution you on certain aspects of that. I am not going to get into the details of how this can be used. The Sanskrit grammar can be used. There are several lectures which are available. But I want to caution you on certain things on which we have somewhat fallen prey for, and that is what I want to take you through. Okay. With this introduction, so this is a sort of outline. I will try to bring you the distinction between intelligence, cognition, and so on. Then what is artificial? The term that is used in Sanskrit for artificial is Kritrima. And then I'll take you through the fascination that we people have fallen for with respect to AI and OpenGPT, ChatGPT. What actually is Kritrima? Is it something new to us, or is it something which is already known to us? Then, is it prudent to depend heavily on AI? That is one aspect which I want to take you through a couple of examples. And then, what is the current thinking, this way of AI and various other things? So where are we landing into? A word of caution there, and then a few concluding remarks. We have these two terms, intelligence, and then we have this jnana, buddhi. Now, the samjnanam is what has been used for artificial cognition in the patrika that has been printed and handed over to us. Kritrima samjnanam is what they have used. We have this mantra, samjnanam, vijnanam, prajnanam, janadabhijanat. Now, this samjnanam is a term. I am not going to get into the details of those terms, but this has been used. Let us assume that they wanted to keep samjnanam for cognition. This cognition, we have to just understand, this should be very clear to us. I am talking to you, my words are heard by you, and there is a certain process which is happening, and out of the words you are able to get something in your mind. What is being done is a certain information is being passed on through words, and this information is being processed by a certain processor which is there, and the processor gives you a certain output, and that is what you call as cognition. Now, the processing that is happening can happen in very many ways. This has to be very clearly understood by us. There is a certain process involved, and there is a certain output for the process. The output of the process is what we call as cognition, and the way the processing is happening is what we call as the intelligence. So how it is being processed depends upon the intelligence, and what comes out of it is what you call as jnana. So this cognition refers to that output, and what is involved in the process and the kind of processor that we are endowed with makes a certain distinction, and that's where this intelligence plays a role. This should be very clear to us. And here Bhagavatpada himself in his Bhashya beautifully says, Lokepi ekasmat guru shrinvatang kaschid yathavat pratipadyate kaschid ayathavat kaschid viparitam kaschin na pratipadyate. Right? So the same words are being transmitted to you. So somebody understands it properly, somebody does not understand, somebody misunderstands, and somebody is completely blank. Now, what makes the difference? The difference lies in the processor. So that's what makes the difference, and that is what we call as generally as intelligence. And we have various kavis also talking of it in various ways. Now, this is the distinction that you have to maintain between intelligence and cognition. And there are various other aspects of this intelligence: ability to learn, ability to quickly learn, ability to adapt to new situations. Now, when we are talking of this AI, we are talking of creating a certain intelligence in a certain instrument. So we are just going to come to that little later. How many of these aspects can be successfully done with this instrument? So adapting to situations we are trying to train, adapting to new situations. In fact, Professor Ramanujam was trying to tell you that the manuscript, there are so many thousands of manuscripts, tens of thousands of manuscripts which have to be read. Now, this human intelligence itself is unable to process. So we are trying to do certain things so which are very, very technical in nature, and there are several challenges. Thoughtfully it is fine, but there are certain traps also I want to tell you. So that's what I wanted to highlight. Now, please don't fall trap to these traps, okay? So this is what I want to caution. So the moment you start playing some YouTube video, some fellow will come and then say, hi, so AI intelligence, you come here and we will get 20 times the salary and all that he will just keep. So this is what is happening today. So many people have started falling prey to this. So this you should not happen. And in fact, there is another advertisement we saw. You, and you are fired. He will be retained. Why? Because of AI GPT. So this is all just to trap you. So the human intelligence, okay, so this is what is happening. Now I'll tell you, what is this Swabhavika and what is this Kritrima? See, we have to just understand this. This natural intelligence is something which we are endowed with a certain processor. You have to very clearly understand this. Now, Kritrima, the term Kritrima essentially means something which has been made by us. Something which has been made by us is what is Kritrima. And this usage, we find Kritrima Putraha also. In fact, we have a very interesting thing, okay? So, Kritrimatvam, Kritrimaha Syat Swayankritaha. This is the simple definition of Kritrima. Now, for you to have a certain example, there is a certain natural forest, there is a certain garden which has been created by you. This Kritrima has to be maintained, natural forest will naturally flourish. So, any small thing, in fact, as he was trying to say, Professor Jha here, so he learned some AI at one point of time, 25 years ago, and today it is completely different, which has absolutely no correlation whatsoever. So this is something which has to be maintained, which will keep changing continuously, but the processor which creates this is what is to be very carefully understood, and the power of it cannot be undermined. Unfortunately, with these devices, we are trying to somehow leave the power that we are endowed with. That is where I wanted to caution you. So just don't be just enamored by this AI and ChatGPT. So we have to, the lot of misinformation also comes through that. I will just give you one or two instances for that, okay? So we are moving at a very alarming phase, dependence on artificial scene. So this is some interesting things that are being done today, so by various institutions, okay. So I will not get into all these domain-specific dictionaries have to be created, okay. And then, of course, we have this looping facility. That, of course, is very important because somebody chants in a particular way, otherbody. So today we have various modes by which we can enhance this natural intelligence. That is what we have to do. So, and of course, AI. So OCR with AI. So this is another thing that is being attempted by various people. And then text-to-speech, speech-to-text, all that. Now, what is happening today is, because of these devices, this is how the class was. Look at in 1870. Nobody has any book in his hand. People were listening and then trying to get what the teacher has to say. Now today, the very attitude of the students is such that we will be able to see later. So there is a serious problem in this. And the ability that you are endowed with to carefully listen and digest as something is being stated is also lost. This is a great loss. So devices can be used for fostering some ability and not to see that we lose the ability, okay? So that is what I wanted to tell. See, today ABCD can be taught like this: A for Apple, B for Bluetooth, C for chat, D for download, E for email, F for Facebook, and then Z for Zorpia, Y for YouTube, okay? So this is what children are taught today. This is a serious problem, I'm telling you. We cannot afford to lose the power that we possess, okay? So that is my point. And the other thing is, see, cognitive versus emotional intelligence. This is another aspect which we have to understand. See, this intelligence, so there is something called artificial intelligence, there is something called natural intelligence, there is something called emotional, there is something called cognitive. I am not going to discuss this in great detail, but I wanted to just tell you that we use various adjectives and each of them has to be carefully understood by us. Now, where are we heading to? This AI has been used to create one's own spouse. You understand? It's not a joke. This is a news. See, Guardian. So 2017 this appeared. So this kind of a thing, perhaps this fellow wanted to just ensure that emotions are all handled properly. Okay? So anyway, these things are happening today. The pros and cons are not understood. The pros and cons have to be very clearly understood before using a certain technology. That is all I wanted to tell you. Unfortunately, this NEP has laid a certain emphasis on these beautiful aspects. See, the pursuit of knowledge, jnana, wisdom, and truth, satya, was always considered in Indian thought and philosophy as the highest human goal. So I am just trying to draw your attention for this reason. See, they have used the word jnana, prajna, and satya. Okay, all these aspects are very important. Today, the information that is being thrown, we just take it for granted that it could be satya. Certainly not the case, okay? So, and whether it is useful, so that is another thing that you have to do, okay? So, making use of AI in the right direction for the right purposes and ensuring that it does. So, all these three aspects are very important, otherwise this can be very dangerous. Okay, now the associated dangers, I'll just tell you. One of my students told me, this is just 2 months or 3 months back, I never knew, though it came in November 2022, Chat GPT. Just in the month of February or March, someone to March told me that, sir, do you know this Chat GPT? I said, I don't know. Then he said, why don't you try? So then the first thing that I tried was this. I typed, what is Vedic science? So this is the answer that it threw, okay? Now look at this. So this tells this Veda is 500 to 500 BCE, okay? Let us leave all that. Come to the last para, since we don't have time. It says, some notable contributions of Vedic science to modern science include concept of zero decimal system, law of gravitation, the concept of atoms, and the development of surgical techniques. See, look at this. It says law of gravitation. What has this law of gravitation got to do? See the slide. In the right-hand side, you have what is law of gravitation. And all that we have in this text, at most, by the time of Bhaskaracharya, 12th century, is this statement, Akrishta Shaktischa Mahitayayat Khastham Gurum Swabhimukham Swashaktya. So now this verse only talks of some attractive force. Does it translate to law of gravitation? So this is the kind of thing that AI things can throw at you, and one has to be exceedingly cautious, okay? So that is all I wanted to tell you through this. And of course, one aspect of this brain, let me just tell you, this brain has enormous amount of faculties: memory, storage, reception, information. See, after all, information is first gathered, information is processed, information gives rise to as cognition. So information that is received, so can be retained and further processed and so on and so forth. Now, this information retrieval is what I think we can very quickly do through this. And through a certain program, we can make it to process in a particular way. When a new situation arises, that's all. So this is where we need to understand this. So this tool that we are equipped with is amazing. And when it comes to emotions, that is all zero. Absolutely zero. That is why I told you this human intelligence, there is cognitive intelligence, there is emotional intelligence. These two are very important things. So when it comes to emotion, our scriptures is all filled with various things. Where can you capture them? So only some data can be retrieved, and quickly if we are not able to recollect. Let us think of this Appaya Dikshita or various other people who have been able to retain the entire scriptures in their mind. What kind of tool that they had for them to recall? So when our Ramanujam says here that this tool can be enhanced, you cannot think of replacing, so he is not for it, he is only trying to see how it can be sort of helpful in some ways. So when it comes to this passion, beautiful descriptions are available in our scriptures. This has, I wanted to highlight, but due to paucity of time, I do not want to get into that. Now, there is another serious problem that we have landed into because of this modern age of thinking and technology. This AI, I'm just telling you. See, now we think of a certain problem, and then this problem can be handled by a certain machine. Now, the solutions that are being suggested by various things have this drawback. I had an occasion when I was traveling here in Europe somewhere. Today, the major problem that most scientists are worried in the world is this global warming phenomenon, which they call. Now, all that this can suggest is modern tool. Their thinking has also become like that. That is all I wanted to say. This artificial cognition, so naturally, how can you reduce? This is gone now. Now they say, this is a paper, I mean, this is a director of a major agency. This is called NET. See, NET stands for negative emission technology. So there's a positive emission that is happening, you have to have a negative emission technology. This positive emission is generating this various things, and instead of having at the recommended level of CO2 around is 224, now we have gone up to 400. So this is a major issue now. Now further they say, we will create huge setups and huge industry to capture the carbon dioxide outside. Now what is the cost at which these industries can be created? So does it involve CO2 emission? So this is the kind of thought that is going on. So that is the major problem, that when we make use of these AI tools, we have to be cautious. So the only way is to avoid. See, today it just so happens, right? It is a really sad situation that many of these Veda parties, they just have their mobile in front. I have seen 40 years ago, when my grandfather used to organize this, none of them will have any book. If 40 years ago, just 40 years ago, whether it is Rig Veda, whether it is Yajurveda, Samaveda, all of them will come and then they will chant. Now it is hard to find anybody. I mean, but for a few Ganapatis, I'm just saying. But then This is the situation. So this artificial intelligence and dependence on that cannot be at the cost of losing something which we are endowed with. So this is what I wanted to tell you. This kind of cognition, so I brought this into picture because the line of thinking itself has gone. Instead of trying to reduce something, you want to find out another machinery which will add more to the difficulty and problems. So this is the recommendation that is being had. Huge diversion of economic resources. This is a suicidal tendency which is happening, and that should not happen with AI and artificial cognition. Now, let me just tell you, these are certain important sayings with respect to this. See, prajna vivekam labhate bhinnai ragama darshanaihi kiyadva shakya munnotum svatarkam anudhavata. So this prajna vivekam labhate bhinnai ragama darshanaihi. This cannot happen with respect to those entities. It can happen only here. So this is very important to understand. Nityena kritakenava, there are various other things. So this Shastras also lay a very, very important place for Pratyaksha. So that I will skip that because of paucity of time. Now let me come back to another important point. So today, the major problem is none of us are aware of the major contributions that have been done by Indians. So he started with Panini, and this is true of various other disciplines. And the point that is being made by this NEP is the Indian education system produced Charaka, Sushruta, Aryabhata, Varahamihira, Bhaskara, Brahmagupta, Chanakya, Madhava, Panini. Each of them are great giants. Now, where is the mind which can comprehend the depth of these disciplines? So this artificial cognition, you can tap, you can get something, but for you to really digest and understand it, so this artificial cognition and intelligence may not be of that great help. For you to digest that, so this processor has to be necessarily trained rather than training the other processes and increasing their efficiency and so on and so forth. Okay? So that can be only used to quickly retrieve something, not at the cost of losing the ability of this instrument that we are endowed with. This is what I wanted to finally convey. And the best and safest way to understand is not GPT or Google, but to go to the sources, read, understand thoroughly, keep comprehending. Your ability to cogitate on something, this is being lost by many people. See, the ability to cogitate, you have to keep something and keep on thinking on it without the need for the other tool. And that is how the creation happens. See, information retrieval and then information recollection, information creation. That is when it happens. So these are things so which the pride in India is very important, but not just, say, I went to this US also, there are so many Google and Microsoft giants. But when we are able to present something, they simply get astonished, right? So that is the power that we have been endowed with, and this artificial intelligence. And one more thing I'll tell you. So just the law of gravitation I told you, there are so many things I have just tried with ChatGPT also. Many of them present certain information which are quite misleading, okay? So when you use this also, I wanted to tell you, so this is artificial cognition in some sense generated by artificial intelligence. And these are to be verified with the original sources, even if we make use of those tools. So that is what I wanted to caution you in this last but one slide. So otherwise what happens is, this is going to be ridiculed by people and not much appreciated, okay? So it is very important that we try to verify the facts even if we get using these tools. Now, this is the last slide. So in the information brochure I saw, it finally says Sanskrit is to be taken to the grassroots levels. This is all it says. And why it has not been taken? Why did we lose? This is simply because we felt that at one point of time that these are sort of meaningless. And our own people, trained by those people for a specific purpose to think along these lines, is the cause. And that is why we have sort of lost over the last few years. And this is simply due to this inferiority complex that has been generated in us. And this has to be gotten rid of. And once we get rid of this, we have to eradicate this cultivated ignorance. And once this is gone, I think we'll be in our own flying colors. And for that, Sanskrit is to be taken to grassroots. It was at grassroots, right? So later it disappeared. Now we are going to come back. Thank you very much. Namaste.
Thank you, Professor Ram Subramaniam, for cautioning us against the unbridled use of artificial intelligence. We have to be very careful in using AI wherever we need it. Thank you so much. Now I invite the next speaker to speak on the cryptography. P. Venkata Subramaniam, please. Please be brief, about 20 minutes or so.
It's not coming. गुरुरेव गतिर्गुरुमेव भजे गुरुणैव सहास्मि नमो गुरवे न गुरोः परमं शिशुरस्मि गुरोः मतिरस्ति गुरौ मम पाहि गुरो हयग्रीव हयग्रीव हयग्रीवेति यो वदेत् तस्य निस्सरते वाणी जह्नुकन्या प्रवाहवत् मूकं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुं लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपातमहं वन्दे परमानन्दमाधवम्। ओम ओंकार परमार्थाय नमः नरनारायणात्मकाय नमः मोक्षलक्ष्मी प्राणकांताय नमः वेंकटाचलनायकाय नमः करुणापूर्णहृदयाय नमः भयनाशनाय नमः गतिदात्रे नमः वराय नमः रक्षसन्दोहसंहर्त्रे नमः। अत्र क्षेत्रदेवता विषयक अष्टोत्तर शतनामावली वळिहि एषा। Can anybody tell us what is the pattern that we see in this Ashtottara Shatanamavali? Once more I will show. Just for the sake of, if you just take the letters there, Om Namo Venkateshaya Bhavabhayaharanaya Gajavaradaya Aghaharaya Srimate Tattvarupaya Sakala Charachara Nidanaya Akhilavide Ramalolaya Kumara Seshadvaitine Dwadasha Bhuja Shiva Pujakaya Naralokeshaya Mayine Mahimodayaya Vedasaraya Shri Klim Swanamo Narayajnagate Swaha Iti Tatra Adyaksharanam Melanena एक गद्य स्तुतिः वेङ्कटेश्वरस्य लभ्यते. तत्र भारतमातरं प्रणम्य दैवीं सारस्वत सरस्वतीं च नत्वा अत्र समागतेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः नमस्सुमाञ्जलिं व्याहरामि. At the outset, I would like to thank Professor Alvar, who encouraged me to do work on this area and suggested that I do this presentation here. The people who presented earlier and the people who are present here are all my gurus, from whom I have learned something. The fact that I have got an opportunity here is only Venkatesha Kripa. So, illustrative cryptographical examples in the Indian knowledge system. This is the topic I would like to speak on. We will take some samples after the introduction. We will take some samples from Vedas. Again, only illustrative samples, one or two. Itihasa Puranas, Shastras, Kavya and other literature. And we conclude with some thoughts. Lot of research has to be done in this area, which also we will suggest as next steps. And stalwarts here can add if we have to add some more steps or some other thing that we need to do in this area. So what is cryptography? Cryptography is a method of protecting information and communication through the use of codes, so that only those for whom the information is intended, they can read and process it. This is broad definition in the corporate IT security language. This is the definition which is well accepted definition. From when is this cryptography prevalent? The science of cryptography, people say it is art of cryptography. The Alankara Shastrajnas, they say it is art of cryptography. We say science of cryptography. Dates back to Vedic era, where messages have been coded. Modern examples, bank cards, computer passwords, e-commerce, virtual private networks, WhatsApp. When you send a message in WhatsApp to your friend, nobody knows what you are sending. It is encrypted. The purpose is to ensure confidentiality by encrypting data through algorithms with a key only known to the sender and the recipient, if there is a key. Otherwise, it is encrypted through a cipher kind of a network. Now, modern classifications of cryptography, you have a symmetric encryption, you have an asymmetric encryption, hash functions, you have something under symmetric, you have public key, under asymmetric, private key, under hash, you have this various nomenclatures, MD5, etc. RSA, all of us must know the RSA, this one. If you have had an HSBC account, bank account, they were giving this one kind of a small device, which when you open the account, you will have to authenticate it by a number which is coming in that device. Once you, along with the password, you enter the number that is generated in the security device. That was nothing but an RSA key. So you have another method where public, private key, these kind of same thing. Blocks, these are some of the years. Please note what is to be noted here is the year, that is 1977, 1998, 1993. These are the years when these kind of functions came into. This is one interesting classification. I will not go into the details, but some of which we know. In classical ciphers, we have substitution, we have transpositional, we have secret cryptography in the modern ciphers. Then if you come here, you have this RSA, Rabin, etc. El-Gamal. El-Gamal uses mathematical functions. Modulus, prime number, it generates a prime number of some function, creates a modulus. and does all these encryption. So these are some of the classifications. We are not going into this. Our topic is Indian cryptography system. But we need to understand that these are today existing, and we will see if our Indian knowledge system cryptography maps to one of these is something we are trying to understand. Unfortunately, when I was going through the topic, studying for this topic, I realized that the current documentation existing in Wikipedia and the internet and public domain and other research papers published, they are totally different. They talk about Egyptian hieroglyphs, which date to 1900 BC. They talk about clay tablets of Mesopotamia. They talk about Hebrew scholars. They talk about, according to Indian system, they are talking about something called Lechita Vikalpa in Vatsyayana Kama Sutra, and where there is a substitution of letters in order to convey different meaning between two people. These are something which is told. Later comes the Greek and Romans. This is very alarming. The problem statement lies here. Examples from Vedas, examples from Vedangas, Itihasas, Puranas are not considered here. We have to understand how they are present in the cryptographical encryptions are present in these Vedas, Vedangas. An example from Veda, Aranyaka Parayanam, we do every Sunday. Kashyapah Pashyako Bhavati. So, instead of Kashyapa, Pashyaka is used in Vedas. Same way you have something called Bhasta Karma Kriti Vaivam. So there also you have Bhasta. What is this Bhasta? Prano Jivani, Indriya Jivani, Saptashirshanyaf Pranaha. Bhastrika in Yoga Shastra is given as Brasta there, the Bhastrika. So what is the technique used here? The cryptography technique used here? Transposition of letters. So Kashyapa, Pashyaka becomes Kashyapa, Bhasta, Brasta. Similarly, we have something called Jayati Homa in Prayoga. Chittancha Swaha, Chitta Idannama, Chittischa Swaha, Akuta Idanma, Akuta Swaha. For this, there is a memory. Yajurveda Samhita, you have Chittancha, Chittischa, Akutancha, Akutischa, Vigyatancha, Vigyanancha. Sometimes we get confused whether Vigyana is first or Vigyata is first. When we are doing the Prayoga, if we are beginners, if we are not trained under a guru, we get this confusion. But Yajurveda Samhita gives this line based on which you can remember the Jayadi Homa mantra. So what is the technique of encryption used here? Word sequence, which is what I showed in that big graph, substitution, sequencing, etc. The same thing is being used today also. Examples from Vedanga, Vriddhiradyantavadavyai bhava pratyayasya luk panchadasha pratamadhyayasya antima vakyam. To remember all the sutras in Pratamadhyaya Pratamapada, we use this one vakya, Vriddhiradyantavadavyai bhava pratyayasya luk panchadasha. Every 20 sutras, the first word is taken, Vriddhirada. From there you take Vriddhi, Adyanta, Avyayi bhavaha, Pratyayasya Lukshlupaha. So you take Pratyayasya, and then you have 15, Panchadasha. So 75 sutras, you get the number. Similarly, in Vedas, you have the numbering system, Panchati, 50 words, etc. So we have the last word combination, first word combination. We have at the Panchati level, at the Anuvaka level, at the Prashna level. Then we have the Prakriti Vikriti Patas, which is also. So the idea here is to protect information from loss and to help retain in memory and oral transfer. This is a cryptic technique which is being used in the Vedas. Let us take an example from Ramayana. In Rama Jananam, Tataschadvadashe Mase Chaitre Navamike Tithau Nakshatre Aditi Daivatye Svocha samstheshu panchasu graheshu karkate lagne vakpata vinduna saha prodhyamane jagannatham. It goes like that. So what is the here? What is the birth star of Rama? It is not explicitly told. To prevent abhichara, etc., there are Jyotish Shastra reasons for not telling directly the nakshatra here. But the nakshatra devatas are told in the Veda. Punarvaso nakshatra maditir devata. You have the vakya there, where in Taittiriya Samhita you are having these vakyas which can tell you what is the nakshatra of Rama. Same way, so what is the technique, cryptic technique used here? Word level, identity based substitution. This, if you classify according to that chart, it is a word level, identity based substitution. This is a very advanced level cryption. Similarly, in Bhagavatam also for Krishna, Rohini Nakshatra is not directly told. It is told as through the Devata. Next, we have a very interesting example from the Kishkinda and Sundarakanda of Ramayana. Let us all listen to this. From Rama in Kishkinda Kanda decides or understands that Hanuman is going to be, or Hanuman is the person who has the samarthya to see and give the message to Sita. From the Vyakhyanas and other things, we understand that. So Rama chooses Hanuman as the carrier. So he gives the Anguliyaka, which cannot be recreated by anyone. Anguliyaka is that Anguliyaka, which is Rama Namankita, has come from Yajnavalkya to Janaka, and it has come through lot of sources. It cannot be recreated by anyone. It's a hardware. Now, what did he do? Dadau tasya tataf pritaha swanamanko pashobitam anguliyam abhignanam rajaputya parantabha. This is the shloka in the Kishkinda Kanda. He gives the Anguliyaka and he describes Sita. Sita evam bhavati. When you see Sita, please try to recognize her. He gives, not only in that sarga, previously also he has told about Sita to Sugriva. Hanuman has learnt from different there. So the technique used by Rama when he is giving the message to Sita here is a hardware lock, which is the Anguliyaka, which cannot be recreated, and a software which is nothing but the description of Sita. Now what happens the other side? Conversation of Sita and Hanuman takes place in Sundarakanda. Mutually they confirm their identities, and then Hanuman gives the Anguliyakam. Now he directly first does not give the Anguliyakam. Please note that. And he says, Vanaroham mahabhage duto ramasya dhimataha ramanamankitang chedam pasyadevyanguliyakam. Kathambo. 5 minutes. Sita receives the Anguliyaka. Grihitva prekshamanasa bhartu karavibhushanam. Bhartaravima samprapta janaki mudita bhavat. The technique here used is a private key concept. So prekshamana bhartaravima samprapta pashya. Drishir prekshane dhatu. So she understands, and she is the only person who can see the Anguliyaka and note what is the message given by Rama. Maybe Rama Darshana, maybe an Ashtakshara Mahamantra to a Jivatma. Whatever it is, the commentators have told a lot of things here. So it is a private key concept, which though Hanuman carried, he did not know what is there inside the Anguliyaka. It has been given. So from Sita to Rama, what is happening? Sarga 38, the Kaka Prasanga, that was the first evidence given by Sita. But later she realizes that everybody knows about that Kaka Prasanga because Jayanta made it public. Then she gives the Chudamani, which is a hardware from her side. And then she tells a shloka, Manashilaya stilako gandaparshve niveshitaha tvaya pranashte tilake tam kila smartum arhasi. So there she gives a Manashilaya stilaka incident, which is a private incident which took place when Rama and Sita were alone, which a brahmachari like Hanuman will not understand, need not know, but it is a shloka. He carries this shloka and tells it to Rama, and when he tells it, what happens is, Rama remembers the incident and he is fully convinced that that Rama has seen Sita, Hanuman has seen Sita, and what is the message Sita is trying to give. So this is an incident-based encryption, from Ramayana. See, this is a full incident is an encryption technique. Sita Ravana Samvada Jari. Parikshinalasyaha samarabhuvi rakshak kulapatihi salajja swastutyam. This kind of shloka is there, which Ravana tells to Sita. Now what does Sita? So the meaning is, Ravana, oh beautiful lady, I am king of Rakshasas, Velras. Rakshak kulapatihi, let us take that. Now what does Sita reply? Kimre adhama muhur alam tvam shrutavati. Alam tvam shrutavati. Alam, alam, laka lavarna rahitam tvam shrutavati. So now this is a, what happened here is, alam lavarna rahitam. So without the letter, kulapatihi becomes kupatihi. Like that, parikshi na lasyaha becomes parikshi nasyaha. Pranamya stri labhyaha becomes pranamya stribhyaha. So without la, so the intended meaning of Sita's reply is that this shloka itself changes. So what is the encryption technique here? The encryption technique is riddle-based captcha. This is a Prahelika Prabandha written by Chamaraja Shastri, Sita Ravana Samvada Jari. Similarly, examples across kavyas. The word Hari has got 18 or 20 meanings. Harir Harati Papani. In this you are having Mahavishnu as the meaning. In one of the Magha Vakya you are having Haya Ashwa as the meaning of Hari. So Kapi as one of the meanings in Valmiki Ramayanam. Kapishwara Nareshwarau. Then you have Simha as one meaning. Indra as one meaning. Surya as one meaning. So you have different meanings of Hari. So what is the technique here used? The technique here used is multiple dimension meaning across a single word. Multiple dimension to the word level encryption. Raghava Yadaviyam. This is a sentence-based encryption. Anuloma Viloma Kavya. So this technique is called Samardnilap in English. So it's a word whose letters when reversed spells another word. So in the sentence also, Vandeham Devam Tam Shritam Ratantaram Kalam Bhasayaha, the same Sevadhyayo, that entire thing if you reverse it, it gives the meaning of Krishna. First meaning gives the meaning of Rama. Similarly, you have example from Shastras. Iko Yanachi, Ikastane Yansyat Ati Samhitayam Vishaye. If you want to decode it further, I ur etesham sthane swareshu pareshu yuvar ityete adeshaha yathakramam sambhavanti samhitayam vishaye. So the meaning is conferred by three words. Knowledge compression, without compressing the meaning. Alankara Shastra, Dhvani, Pratiyamanam, Kvachidanya Deva, Vastvasti Vanishu Mahakavinam, Dhvani Siddhanta, we know that. There is a different meaning encoded in the words of great poets. Brahmadharmika Vishrabda, common example found in all the textbooks. I will leave this for the people to another. The other examples are given by Professor Ram Subramaniam in his videos. Katapayadi Sankhya, which is used in mathematics, music, other literature. So, Raghava Vijayam Dadyat Mama Sita Batif Prabhu, Raghavasya Pradadvandam Dadyam Amita Vaibhavam. So, this is a shloka which tells that you have to do Parayana of Sundarakanda in a particular, with particular number of sargas on particular days in 2 cycles to get all victory. Vijayam Dadyat. Sarvatra Vijaya Praptyartham. Sundarakanda Parayanam Evam Kartavyam. Iti Tatra Katapayadi Sankhya Dwara cryptography. So mathematics, Gopi Bhagya Madhuvrata. Everybody knows this shloka, which gives the value of pi. Bhuta Sankhya, which is again explained by Professor Ram Subramaniam. Physical entities like Earth, Moon, planets, etc., they have some numbers. All the human parts, animals, they all have some numbers. So the moment you understand the meaning of the word, it evokes a number in the reader's mind. That is the purpose of Bhuta Sankhya. So you have examples in Tantra Shastras, Shiva Shaktya Yukto, Shiva Shakti Kamaha in Saundarya Lahari, which gives a Shodashakshari mantra or tantra, the Shodashakshari, the mantra of that devata. Then you have Sri Chakra shloka in 11th shloka of Saundalari, Chaturbhi Sri Kantaihi. So, Shivayutibhif Panchabhirapi. Here also you have Prabhinnabhi Shambhoho Navabhirapi Moola Prakritivihi. So, Vasudalam Ashtavasavaha, Kalashram Shodasha Kalaha, Ashram Nama Dalam Shodasha Dalam, Trivalayam Trimekhalam, Trirekaha Bhupuratrayam. Evam Tatra Sri Chakra Lekhana Paddhatihi, Sri Chakram Labhyate. Bhuta Sankhya example, this slide got changed. Bhuta Sankhya example is Vibhuda Netra Gajahi Hutashana, which is a common example quoted by Professor. Vibhuda reference Devaha, Amar. So Devaha 33 crores, 33. Netra is 2. Gaja, Ashta Gajopari 8. Ahi Hutashana. So you get the number and value of pi to 7 places. So examples from Sangeeta Shastra. You have the Melakarta ragas. Suppose you have Dhira Shankarabhana, Dhira Katapaya. If you apply, what is the number of this raga? 29. Then you minus 1 divided by 6. You will get a quotient and a remainder. The quotient 4 will give you what is the swaras, riga, arohana, avarohana inside that raga. So thus we can find the swara places through these techniques. So these are examples from Carnatic music. From the Chitra Kavyas, we have the Gomutrika Bandha, Sharabandha in Paduka Sahasram, Lakshmi Sahasram, etc. We find this. This is an example from Paduka Sahasram, Chitra Paddhati, all this. So when we conclude the top 10 methods of ancient Indian cryptography, so this is the conclusion. The letter-based, we have letter-based cryptography, we have number-based cryptography, we have alphanumeric-based cryptography, we have word-based, we saw that, we have meaning-based, we have sentence-based, we have incident-based, we have prahelika riddle-based, we have problem-solving-based, samasya purti, which I didn't, there is no example here, but all of you experts in Alankara Shastra, you know samasya purti. Then a combination of all these things. So what can we do? What were these techniques used for? The modern cryptography is used to hide information. Here, you hide information and give it for the intended receiver. But here, the cryptography in the Indian system was very advanced. It was used for memory support. The principle was the person who has the knowledge, he should be the carrier of the knowledge. So I have learnt Vyakarana. I should know cryptographical in evident techniques in Vyakarana so that I remember all 4,000 sutras. So then, and I should not be just like I refer always ashtadhyayi.com and say that, okay, which is the sutra, refer ashtadhyayi.com. Vyakarana Kasuchi, we become Vyakarana Kasuchi. So, and in Sutravartika Bhashya also we can expand. So that is a technique. Sutravartika Bhashya technique. Understand the information, recognize the information, prevent the digester of information. Vikriti patas in Vedas are meant for preventing the digester. Protect the sequence of information. Make sure the order, etc. is protected. The Venkateshwara Shatanamavali which we saw. The last slide. So what is the area of work that we have to do in these areas? We have to identify multiple granthas which have these examples and list all of them, and identify the sequence and the cryptographic thought in these texts. And we have to structure the Indian timeline. People are telling Egyptians are the beginners, whereas from Vedas we are seeing our Veda gurus here, they can tell 100 examples of cryptography. I only told 2 examples. Sequencing, structuring the Indian timeline for Indian antecedents, developing models, possible insights for modern problems and challenges, using the best of modern and ancient to communicate the information appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Venkatji, for beautifully illustrating the Indian cryptography techniques from ancient India, Vedic, post-Vedic, classical epics, and the technical literature. Thank you so much. We have the next presenter, or last presenter, Sri Dhanuji. Please, you are requested to make your presentation. Be very brief. We have the next session starting very soon. Thank you so much.
పెన్ డ్రైవ్ డైరెక్ట్ అట్లే ఉంటుంది సార్, అట్లే ఓపెన్ చేస్తారా? ఇక్కడ చెయ్యి ఫస్ట్ ఉంది కదా, బ్యాటరీ ఉంది.
Yeah, full level screen start. First screen. First screen. Start. For motor pattern. నెంబర్ ఫస్ట్కి రావాలంటే
ఫస్ట్ అంటే బ్యాక్ కొట్టాలి.
ఓకే సార్ వస్తుంది. ఓం శ్రియః కాంతాయ కళ్యాణ నిధయే నిధయేర్థినాం శ్రీవేంకటనివాసాయ శ్రీనివాసాయ మంగళం. It's not moving, please. Please. అది నెక్స్ట్ స్లైడ్ వెళ్ళట్లేదు చూడండి. అక్కడే ఉంటుంది.
స్లైడ్స్ నెక్స్ట్ కొట్టండి సార్.
కొట్టండి.
నెక్స్ట్ సార్
కొట్టండి మీరు. నెక్స్ట్ దాన్ని అది పక్కకు వస్తుంది మరి.
ఇక్కడ ఇది అసలు ఉంది కదా సార్.
అది వస్తుంది. These are all the introductory slides. At the outset, let me thank the organizers for inviting me to make a small presentation on Sanskrit and artificial intelligence. My predecessors already have given a lot of introduction. So, actually today, I would like to say whether this topic is relevant or not relevant in the present times. Yes, I will say it is highly relevant. Because today all the questions what are all being asked during the development of this artificial intelligence, they were all previously asked questions and for whom already the answers also known. This is a small subset what we are asking. There is a superset that was existing previously. And actually, very briefly, the topic now is the ancient Sanskrit versus the modern ancient, the artificial intelligence, as on today. Very simply to say, our grammarians of Sanskrit, they are actually the computer scientists without the hardware. About 2000 years back, not now, minimum. And they must have developed that mechanism in their search for clear and unambiguous understanding of texts of Sanskrit. Those people who are, everybody normally nowadays, when they know about the computers, they use the terms, the data, information, knowledge, wisdom, and Atma Jnana, Paroksha Jnana, and Aparokshanubhuti. These are all the words related to Jnana actually, but with different layers. The definition of knowledge, the dictionary meaning is, it is a fact or condition of knowing something with the familiarity gained through experience or association. Similarly, it is covering the range of one's understanding of information. It also covers the facts or ideas acquired by study, investigation, observation, and experience. Now already it was covered. Yes, definitely we have two kinds. One is the intelligence is natural intelligence and artificial intelligence. The intelligence, the meaning is the ability to learn or understand or to deal with the new or trying situations, and also the ability to apply knowledge to manipulate one's environment. The literature, what actually our Sanskrit language has covered, it includes all the 4 Vedas, previously with 1131 branches. Now 6 Vedangas, 6 Darshanas, and several hundred Kavyas, Puranas, etc. Now actually it was, normally people are, most of the students, they may not be aware how many grammarians' names were referred in our ancient books. And the names of Vyakaranas also. There was Indra Vyakarana, Vayavya Vyakarana, Bharadvaj Vyakarana, Paushigara Shadi Vyakarana, then Kalakrishna Vyakarana, like that several Vyakaranas were there. And about the names of about 85 grammarians, they were mentioned in our books. At least let us remember this aspect. Not just Panini or Kavitra alone. Several hundred books were there, but they are all overtaken by Panini's Ashtadhyayi. It's not that they are not relevant at all, still they are relevant. And other major contributors in the subject of today's topic, definitely we should remember Bhartruhari, particularly his Vakyapadiya, because that actually contains all the concepts. Now what we are talking about, the artificial intelligence. On this actually I have written an article about 25 years back in my book, Science and Technology in Vedas and Shastras. Already this article was published about 3 decades back. And also we have to remember the contributions of Bhattoji Dikshita, then other people, then Nagesh Bhatta. Here actually their contributions, what actually, how this artificial is fundamentally working, and how our natural system, human system is working. Here we have the information of the objects, Vishaya Jnana, then signals received by the senses, Indriya Jnana, then transmitted through our nervous system, coordinated by our brain, and stored in the form of knowledge, but not in the form of A or B or C or A or A, in the form of knowledge. What actually is the shape, we do not know. It is people say it is signals, but still it has to be explored. And the evolution process from the signal level, several languages have come into existence with several facilities that express knowledge in unambiguous way through comprehensive grammars with identification of roots, formation of words, and formation of sentences, and generation of knowledge in an understandable way. And here, the language and information actually, when we think of, the purpose is to communicate information from one being to another, and information carried by transmission of signals. The signal will be a text, or a picture, or a sound. And here most of the language, they take care of the syntax and semantics. Normally, for the present day Sanskrit, yes, Panini's grammar can take care of. And the semantics, that is most important when you are communicating our knowledge from one system to another system. The following systems actually about Shabda Bodha, what we call it, the Vyakarana, the Mimamsa, and the Nyaya Shastras, they have delved deep into this subject. And here, the process of getting the meaning of a sentence, how actually, what is the process really that is happening? There are 2 theories are there, Abhitanvayavada and Anvitabhidhanavada. I am not going to details of these 2 things, but just I am mentioning the names only. And the types of knowledge, we have the domain-specific knowledge and the common sense knowledge. Here actually I should say, the steps, they were given by our ancient rishis, particularly Yajnavalkya Maharshi, how to acquire the spiritual knowledge, how I can have the Atma Darshan. Atma Varya Drashtavyaha, Shrotavyaha, Mantavyaha, and Nididhyasitavyaha. Actually, this is the base for our today's artificial intelligence.
This actual single sentence sufficient. Yes, ultimately you want what you want to have? Yes, you have the Atma Darshan. The target is given in the beginning itself. And what are these different steps? Actually, for the artificial intelligence, we can see simulation of knowledge, representation of human system in computers, and a branch of computer science dealing with symbolic, non-algorithmic methods of problem solving. And here, in the artificial intelligence, two important wings are, one is machine learning, and second one is deep learning, they call it. What is meant by machine learning? Actually, this we have been discussing, we have been working upon it. I started developing the 4x4 compilers in 1971. Almost 52 years back, we started developing the systems for translating one language to another language. But still the process is not complete, and it can never be complete when we think of the natural language processing. Here, the machine language learning, what we call it? In Yajnavalkya Atmavarya Drashtaya, the equivalent is Shrotavyaha. First of all, you learn from the great teachers. Acquire all the knowledge, first level. That's not sufficient. Deep learning is essential for the artificial intelligence. Equivalent one is the Mantavyaha, that you have to repeatedly think of it. Then Nididhyasitavyaha, very highly you have to concentrate. These are the words. And here, the knowledge presentation actually given in artificial intelligence is again object-centered and activity-centered. And here, the description of objects by identification of attributes and associated values. And second phase is evolving set of relations. And here actually I will show you exactly a statement. There is one statement in Sanskrit, Gacchati Chaitraha. How exactly it is going to be translated? It's not just Chaitra is going, not sufficient. Actually, the description of every component of the sentence have to be defined very clearly. Atra ekatvavachinna Chaitra abhinna kartrukaha vartamana kalikaha gamananukulaha vyaparaha. Like that, actually, the description of each item has to be done. Then only we will be able to decipher the contents of that sentence. Similarly, everybody knows the Sanskrit language is having that unique advantage of the position-independent grammar. Position-independent grammar. The words can lie anywhere. Because of the bhaktis, people will be able to get their meanings. This is the power of Sanskrit. But once you are dealing with this in artificial, you are definitely going to land into troubles. Because this position independence, it cannot be perfectly translated by the computer systems using this artificial intelligence. I got several examples from Sundarakanda, just I will show them. Similarly, the transitivity. A sentence in Sanskrit, suppose Chaitra is going, as I told you, this is the brief description. Chaitra is going means an act of going is taking place in the present, of which the agent is no other than Chaitra, qualified by singularity. That is a vachana, all these things they have to be given. Here actually you see how exactly the information is being saved in the artificial intelligence systems. Rama gave a ball to Krishna. This information can be shared as a series of triples. Give is the main one. There will be an agent, and that agent is Rama at the time of giving. Again, the same give verb is there, but the object is there. What is the one that is going to be given? The ball. That is second part of description. Then third part description. Yes, the verb again comes into picture, give. Then who is the recipient? Krishna. That is another triple. When is he giving? Give time, that is a past time. Like that actually, every component of a sentence have to be distributed into different triples. This is one mechanism. And this is the way actually it is diagrammatically represented. At the central point we have the word give. At one side Rama, another side Krishna. Here he is the agent and he is the recipient. And once it comes down, the book is the object, and the post, the time-wise, it is the past tense actually. And there is one more thing. That's sufficient. That's sufficient. How much time is spent? That you tell me. Okay, please. Here actually, Yes, almost my talk is over. Okay. Just a minute. I would like to show you. Here actually you see, of course it is from Sundarakanda. If you follow this artificial intelligence, how it will work and how it will fail. It is Balai Samagrair Yedimam Hatva Ravana Mahave Vijayi Swam Purim Ramo Nayet Tatsyad Ishaskaram. Actually, a sentence once it is divided into the triples. Here actually it is having two objects. Dvitiya Vibhakti, two Vibhaktis are there. One is Mam, another is Ravanam. It's not one verb we are having. Hatva is there, and then there are three. Nayet is one thing, and impliedly that is Syat is the third one. When you are having the artificial intelligence, the rules must be framed. The first object for the first verb. Second object for the second verb. Like that, if you take it like that, then what happens is, Hatva, actually in the beginning, Hatva is the first verb we are getting. And what is the object? Mam. Actually, this is a message conveyed by Sita Devi to Hanuman. With all the forces, if I am killing Ravana and then taken, then it will be befitting for Rama. But actually in Telugu, if you translate it, Nannu Champi Ravanunni అయోధ్యకి తీసుకువెడితే రాముడికి బాగుంటుంది. ఇక్కడ చంపి అనేది సీతాదేవిగా రావణుడిగా వరుసగా చూడండి. బలై సమగ్రైర్ యదిమాం హత్వా. Actually the meaning, entire meaning is changing. But actually what we mean is Hatva Ravanam, that has to come. But here actually the rule framing. Suppose you change the rule. No second object for the verb. Then again the meaning will be a different one. Then what to have? So the artificial intelligence has to be guarded. It's not sufficient. Similarly, there is one more word is there. There is one important word, Paramapriyam. Gatvat yadi kakustha vakshya Paramapriyam na drushteti maya sita tatastyakshati jeevitam. Here actually what is the meaning conveyed? The shloka is, it's a sentence by Hanuman to himself. This is a shloka found in 13th Sarga of Sundarakanda. What he says is, what he is thinking among himself. If this bad news that Sita not found, if it is conveyed to Sri Rama, then he will live his life. There is a word that is a combination of the Paramapriyam. It can be divided in two ways. Parama, Priyam. Sita is not found. Is it a good news or bad news? But actually when I asked the computer recently for the Google translation, it has said it is a dearest news. A worst translation. Parama, Priyam. Is it a good news for Rama? No. But actually it has a, with Sandhi, Param, Apriyam. But it is not able to translate. It is not able to translate. The Google Translate is failed. It says, I do not know. So when these kind of small examples, they cannot be translated, how can you trust this artificial intelligence? But actually one more thing is there. The Sandhi is involved and Samasa is involved. Suppose in this case, if you take Sandhi, that is a correct meaning. And if you take Samasa, that is a wrong meaning. All right? But whereas, there are some cases are there. Swasura Gruham Paramasukham. Swasura Gruham Paramasukham, this is a very, very famous word with respect to the great poet Bharavi. That is a punishment given by his father actually. The same word, the combination of words, that will be right for few days and it will be wrong for the second one. First few days, if a person stays in father-in-law's house, all right, it will be good. Parama Priyam. But after 2-3 days, it will be Param Apriyam. So this kind of meaning the system has to derive. It cannot. There one more thing is there. One important word in Mahabharata we find about prajna. Normally we think prajna means very intelligent person. Normally that is one. And here actually, that is the shloka given, the message passed on by Vidura to Yudhishthira at the time of sending these people to that Varanavatam. Prajna, prajna pralapajna, pralapajnam edam vachaha, prajnam prajna pralapajna, pralapajnam vacho bravit. It is very, very toughest, one of the toughest shlokas of Mahabharata. Toughest shlokas. Normally, prajna means always we take it as the intelligent person. No, he makes a savarna dirgha sandhi. It is a pra plus ajna. Pra plus ajna, a person who doesn't know anything. Here actually, Vidura is using both the meanings simultaneously in the same shloka. Then how the systems can take care of? So with these kind of problems actually, but definitely some efforts must be made. It will be helpful to some extent only, not to the extent finally. And particularly when the mantras have to be translated, it cannot translate at all. The inner meanings, normally most of our kavyas, they are having the inner meanings, antararthas. The system cannot explain it. Suppose when Vishwamitra comes to take Sri Rama along with him for the yaga, then Dasharatha says, Ona Shodasha Varsho me Ramo Rajiva Lochanaha. Rama is minus 16, not plus 16. That his age is not completely 16 years. Ona Shodasha Ramo Rajiva Lochanaha. He is a lotus side Rama. How you can take this boy? It appears as if he is describing the age and tenderness of Rama only. No, it's not. Rajiva Lochana is conveying one more inner meaning. Rajiva means lotus. The lotus blossoms at the sunrise and again closes at the sunset. Similarly, my Rama, he gets up after about 6 o'clock and again he may go to very much early to bed. So about 7 o'clock also. Whereas now you are asking him to fight with Nishacharas. He is rising at 6 o'clock and going to bed at 6 o'clock. Now you are asking him to fight with the demons who are going to stay and they are going to move and then have their fight in the night. How it is? This inner meaning cannot be conveyed by this kind of artificial engines. But at the same time, as a computer profession, yes, it is a tool only. It is not the entire thing. So definitely we can take care of, try to do something and to try to develop a powerful tool which may be able to give you some guidance, not perfect guidance. Thank you, sir, for giving this opportunity. Namaskar.
Thank you, Professor Rauthanulu, for conveying the limitations of the AI. So, you want a couple of... You want to take over the next section or... Okay. Some questions? Any questions? No, any questions to be... Thank you.
I hope all the audience have appreciated the talks. Indeed, they are the best speakers. Because of the time inadequacy, I request Mr. Chandrasekharam to propose vote of thanks very briefly. Thank you very much.
Sri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om. I am here to propose vote of thanks on the behalf of Sahitya Akademi, Ministry of Culture, and National Sanskrit University, and Samskriti Foundation, Mysore, and on my behalf. Respected Professor G.S.R. Krishnamurthy Garu, Vice Chancellor, National Sanskrit University, and Professor Girish Nath Jha, who was chair, and now our acting chair, our Ram Subramaniam sir. It has been such a wonderful session of scholarship in which plenty of insights into the practical utility of the Sanskrit in the field of information processing were shared and some innovative ideas were highlighted. Sanskrit is a language for large data processing, cryptic pathways, and also algorithmic pattern development. Sanskrit contributed equal measures of all fields of knowledge, and the indigenous knowledge systems were completely built and developed on the wisdom of Sanskrit. It was wonderful listening to the Professor Girish Nath Jha's elaboration on natural language processing and Sanskrit. So to be brief, I am reducing, and Professor Ramanujam sir has given analysis on the speech synthesis and speech recognition, and with respect to Vedic domain. In the Vedic domain, what are the actually required aspects to be worked out, and all these aspects were covered by Professor Ramanujam sir. And Ramasubramaniam sir, Kritrima Sanjnanam, so cognition and intelligence, some areas were covered, and he also covered the dangers of associated with artificial intelligence and some innovative topics relating to the AI. And Dr. Venkata has elaborated on Indian cryptographic systems, and he explained with a lot of examples from Ramayana, Bharata, and Veda, different aspects, different types of encrypting used in our ancient texts. And finally, R.V.S.S. Avadhanlu sir has proposed artificial intelligence aspects covered in the Sanskrit. So, as amazing things were learnt from the session, and my hearty congratulations and sincere gratitude to all the panelists for such a enlightening session. And I also thank the audience for patient listening and staying up to the end of the session. Thank you.